So as you can see from the length of this episode, I got a little bit carried away. Me and Shellie actually go way back. We went to the same junior camp together, Fort Faith in Morley, Michigan. And we also went to Hyles-Anderson College. We both went on tour for the college. We were part of singing groups that went out during the summer and promoted the college. She was a freshman in 2003. I was a freshman the next year in 2004. And so we have a lot of things in common. So we had a great conversation. Clearly, we didn't want to stop talking after almost 3.5 hours. We talk about, of course, Hyles-Anderson College. We talked about chapel. I spliced in a few clips. The Oom-PaPa clip is in there, the 3 o'clock rehearsal. That was fun rewatching that. Brought a lot of good memories. And that's really a lot of our conversation is just memories of tour, of college, how crazy it was, how fun it was in some instances, and how wrong it was in some cases. But one of the big things we talked about that I hope can help a lot of people, the deconversion process, getting out of the faith, leaving a constrictive religion at best and a cult at worst, and what it looks like on the other side of that. Because Shellie's in a different place than I am as far as getting out and leaving and what she wants to do next and how she wants to, live her life now. And so we had a really good conversation, some great back and forth about all the fear that so many of us have about getting out of whatever this is we're in, whether, again, just a constrictive religion or an actual cult or a melding of the two. It can be really scary. And Shellie speaks to those fears and gives us some great insight. So I can't wait for you guys to check out this episode of Not Your Mother's Podcast. We have lots more to come, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for us all. My name is Stuart. This is my friend Shellie Lyns Tyrell, and this is the Not Your Mother's Podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. So myself and Shellie have gone back and forth here and there on Facebook. And what was funny for me, ironic really, was you brought up when we had our first conversation. I think we kind of connected. I don't know if it was entirely through the podcast, but it might have been somewhat through the podcast. Might have been a little bit of the catalyst for the connection. But I remember you, and this has happened not just with you, not to belittle our interaction, but there have been more than once where someone says, I'm trying to remember. Now I can't remember his name. He's going to hate me for it. Not hate me. Brian Ferguson, I think. And I carpooled with this. It was Brian, right? Now he's going to hate me because he listens to the podcast. Oh, I hope I didn't get this wrong. Brian, I'm so sorry. But we reintroduced to the podcast, and I saw that he had gone to Hyles. I was like, oh, what years were you there? And we're chit-chatting, and he's like, yeah, I remember you. I'm like, man, I don't remember you. He goes, dude, I carpooled with you. You rode in my car for a year with me to work in Allsup, Illinois. You don't know who I am? And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I felt terrible.
Getting old.
I guess something. But me and you were talking, and you were like, yeah, we were at the same youth camp together. And I was like, we were? You're like, yeah, dude, like you need to, you didn't say that, but like you need to work on your memory. All right. So anyways, to me, that was funny that we were, we were talking and everything was, I was thinking, oh, this is a new friend and everything. Like, no, I've known you for a very long time. So anyways, Shellie, tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of what your background is, where you come from. This podcast, people will be able to see from the title, the subject matter we're going to be going over. We're going to be talking about the IFB and talking about Hyles-Anderson College a lot, I'm sure. But kind of give us your background growing up. How did you grow up as far as religion, and what was your life like growing up?
Okay. Well, I grew up in Battle Creek, Michigan, and it's actually the cereal capital of the world.
Yes, Kellogg's is there, right?
Yes, Kellogg's, Post. There were certain neighborhoods that you drive through and you could smell the cereal being cooked.
That's cool.
So it was for the most part. They burned it back. Yeah, that was bad. But I grew up there, and I'm an only child. That might be relevant.
Yeah.
But let's see. We started out, we went to different churches, but we were not IFB. I was not born into it.
Sure.
We went to Free Will Baptist. There was
my dad was saved in a Free Will Baptist church.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's wild.
Okay.
In Newport News, Virginia. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I was saved in a Southern Baptist.
There you go. So I don't think either of y'all are even saved, really.
Oh, well, yeah. I don't know.
It don't count. I'm just kidding.
Well, funny you say that, because they were very strict, and they wanted to make sure that I was saved. And I was 5 years old when it happened. And, I hadn't, robbed any banks or
Right.
real bad.
It is kind of ironic, and I'm not trying to speak ill. I've got lots of people on my timeline whose kids are going through the conversion process at a young age. But yeah, it is kind of like, what have you done wrong? Well, I stole my brother's Legos. And, okay. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. I keep
Exactly. Yeah. So like, I don't remember, needing salvation, needing
right
to be saved from sin. So it was probably wise on their part to question and wanted to wait to see if I really meant it.
Sure.
But during that time, my parents were just like, let's try and find something else. And that was our start into looking for a different church, and we landed in an IFB church.
Gotcha.
So about 6 years old, we really started getting involved, going there. But before that, I remember wearing pants. I remember going to movie theaters,
yes.
Just regular life.
Right.
But I don't know. It was starting out as a young age. All of the teachings and whatnot, it seemed normal.
Sure. Well, when you're that young, everything is normal. Like
exactly.
People who grow up in poverty or grow up in third world countries, like, okay, but it's normal to not have any food for a couple. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to belittle or demean any of that. Just like when you grow up, how you grow up, that is your normal. That's how it's defined. So yeah, exactly. It is kind of a weird thing, and we're not to this part in the conversation yet, but it's kind of a weird thing getting out into the real world, so to speak, and explaining your normal to people, and they're like, that's not normal at all.
That's where I am right now.
Yeah.
I'll say something and people are like, what? Are you serious? I do remember as a kid, as a teenager, people saying, do you go to a convent? Like, is that
go to what?
Convent? Like, to be a nun or something?
Oh, a convent. I wasn't understanding. Yeah.
Just because
I've heard that one before.
Strictness of our lifestyle. But anyway, so I was well liked at our church. I had lots of friends and whatnot. And I think, that speaks to, we were a regular going church family that was involved, and, we would do all sorts of stuff to help out. But I did see, the difference between bus kids and church kids. There was a huge difference there. And even, people that weren't necessarily bus families, but didn't fit the bill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's segregation there.
Yeah, they were treated differently. But for the most part, as a child, I had good memories, good growing up. I think the best memories were camp, and that's
those are fun memories. Yeah.
Not that you remember me.
I know, I'm terrible. Honestly, my standout memory, I have two standout memories, and there's more if I keep talking, which is what the podcast does, just me talking for too long. But two standout memories. One is, and I think he swears to this day that he wasn't a part of it, so I may be incorrect, but it was either John Vapperzan Jr. and or John Collins being a part of, and I'm not trying to get into the bullying conversation or trying to be unkind. It was church camp, and it was just craziness. Mm-hmm. But I remember a young man getting duct taped to you remember too, apparently.
Yes.
You shouldn't know
about it. It was for my church.
Oh, that's why, I was going to say, because it's down by the boys' dorms. You're not allowed down there.
No.
Yeah, he got duct taped to a tree. And it would be funnier if it wasn't against his will, but that's camp. Like, I remember before we went to Fort Faith, we had my dad ran our own camp in in Indiana. And we would have 10, 12 kids come. It was so bad. And it wasn't cabins. We were camping. We were out. Yeah, we were out in the woods with tents. Like, it was legit. And I remember not getting my first swirly. I don't think I've ever had a swirly, but I remember my buddy Ben Fugit. In that moment, I thought he saved my life. Because Daryl Tyson, I'm dropping all kinds of names, and I love Daryl. We're friends on Facebook. I have nothing against him. But Daryl was going to give me a swirly, and then Benny jumped on his back And I think Benny ended up getting the swirly because he took it from me, basically. And I remember one year we had a kid. There was a little, not creek, a little river by 3D campground where we were having camp, and this kid got caught in a whirlpool, almost drowned. Like, it was just, so I'm just trying to say, teen camp in the IFB is pretty wild. Still to this day, Mount Salem exists. Like, it's all craziness. So, but I definitely do have good memories from camp. But I think my good memories come more from teen camp when I was kind of coming into my own, and I don't know. I have better memories from teen camp, even though they weren't at Fort Faith. But I have good memories. How about you? What is? Do you have any standouts from? Oh, sorry, I lied, and I'm going to interrupt you again. So my other memory is, and I will name him because I'm not going to get in any trouble, and I think Arlen Walters is a great human being. I remember having that cheap Dollar General knockoff cologne, perfume, spray, whatever. It was Axe before there was Axe, and we were all in the dorms hanging out. And I don't remember. I'm not going to get into what people were wearing in the men's dorms, but it wasn't much. And I remember Arlen taking I don't know, it was a joke. It wasn't unkind. It was just funny. He was my counselor that year, and he grabbed my knockoff spray, just sprayed himself all over. Woohoo! Just running around. Again, that's probably sounds really dumb, but that was a highlight for me for some reason.
Oh my
I
word.
recall that very well. Anyways, your turn. If you have any.
Well, how do I follow that act?
Pretty easily. That's a boring story. It's stupid.
Let's see.
The water slide. I don't know.
The water slide, yeah. The highlight of the summer was being able to go swimming at camp.
Yeah.
For 3 days.
Which was in a pond, by the way.
It was so
a literal
gross.
Pond. Yeah. It was green.
So oh man. But as an IFB, I wasn't allowed to go to swimming pools or the beach. And you had to dress from head to toe, with clothes. So I felt liberated. I was going swimming. It was so exciting. Yes. But the 300-foot slide, that was very dangerous when you had full-on clothes.
It's dangerous anyways. It was a hard tarp in the dirt. It wasn't a slide. It was a hard tarp in the dirt. And I don't know if I'm friends with any of the staff because Fort Faith is still there. Mm-hmm. I worked there a couple summers, not on staff there, but when I was working in Michigan, I helped run the teen camp 2 years, not the whole thing, just the week that we were there. And so I don't have anything against anyone there. And I would hope that at some point things were more up to code. But even when I was there in 2008, 2009, 2010, no, like it was just a tarp on the side of a hill down into the lake.
I don't even know if there was a tarp when I was going there. It was just kind of like
well, that's what I meant. It's that
it's
that's what it is. I'm sorry, I didn't define it well. Yeah, no, it was hard plastic.
Take your fingers off if you didn't.
Yeah, you can't put your fingers on the side because you will slice your fingers. Guaranteed.
Oh man. But no, your mom was down at the end because us girls would be going fast.
Yes, wipe out.
And then you'd end up at the bottom and it was just this turmoil of, you had no way up. Which way is up, which way is down. And she'd literally
because you can't see in that water. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And with all of the culottes and the t-shirts and everything. Like we could have drowned if it wasn't for your mom.
Not that I wish anyone would have drowned, but you should have. Like,
yes.
With all the trappings that you had to wear.
Oh man.
Yeah, that slide was something else. The slide was funny. That there was out in the middle, there was what do they call it? It's like
a pillow?
Oh, they call it the pillow? Is that what you guys called it?
That's what we called it, yeah.
We didn't call it the pillow. Anyways, it was not a barge is the word that keeps coming to mind. It's not a barge.
Oh, I know what
you're talking about. Something else. Yeah, no, we didn't have the pillow. I guess the guys didn't have it that easy. I don't know.
It was a giant blow-up thing that they built, kind of like a ladder to jump
yes,
off.
That was on the other side.
Yeah.
That wasn't where we swam, though. Yeah, I never did. That thing scared the hell out of me. I never did that thing.
I was living on the edge then, I guess.
Yeah, good for you. Not me. No, I'm talking about the, it was out in where we were swimming. The raft. Oh, my God. Why could I not think of that word? Yeah, the raft. I remember that was a big thing. I remember that being a big thing, like, for the teenage guys. Like, the bigger guys would, like, go out and stay on the raft and kick any little kids off. And okay, so now I'm sorry, I'm not letting you tell your stories. This is how this podcast goes. It's so bad.
That's okay.
It's my fault. It's my fault. But I remember when I finally got to be one of the counselors, because I was an adult and I was the youth pastor for the church that was going to. I was on that raft so fast, like I'm gonna get to kick all these kids off. This is so great. It was my revenge. Yeah, I was there as an adult. Isn't that terrible? But me and I feel like Ben Jackson might have been there one year, maybe not. But I remember me and maybe one or two other, adult counselors thinking, man, that's no achievement at all. They're children. So again, nothing abusive or unkind. It was just it was all in good fun, but it was funny to me to realize in this moment right now, just realize like, oh yeah, that was my revenge as an adult. It's terrible. All right, sorry, you go.
Well, along those lines, since swimming was such a highlight for me,
right?
Do you remember when they started letting us go rafting down like?
See, I probably was gone by then. Yeah.
Okay.
And they weren't doing it when I went back.
It's probably a smart idea.
Was it tubing or rafting or both?
I guess it would be tubing. I don't know. It was inner tubes that we would go down the river.
Yes.
But obviously, I didn't have sun exposure a whole lot because
right. Yeah. You're indoors.
Sun-like clothing.
Right. Oh yeah, that too.
So, 15 years old. Was the first time that we went rafting, and I was on my stomach for about 2 hours with the back of my legs exposed.
Oh.
And it wasn't sunny. It was a cloudy day.
Doesn't matter.
No problem. Oh man, we got done. I was as red as a lobster.
Yeah.
And we had bowling that night. We had
of course you did.
Yep. I could barely walk by that point, Stuart. It was so bad. I was walking on my
Yeah, that's how you know it's bad, is when the day of you're having that much pain. Fuck.
Well, I ended up with blisters the size of my fist.
Yeah, I believe it.
They had to take me to the ER at like
oh no.
Yeah. So
I wonder, maybe I don't know, that sounds familiar. I don't know if maybe I was there for that and I just
that would have been in the summer of 2000.
See, I don't remember anything. I was definitely there. Because we moved to Missouri, from Indiana to Missouri in 2001. I remember because it was the same year Jack Hyles died and 9/11 happened. So I remember that. See, I don't. I was there. I don't remember. God, that's terrible.
Oh,
that's wild, though. I have, I think, I have weird memories and everything, but I think I have a lot of fun, but just some very bizarre ones. The pickle eating contest that. Amber Stiesler now. Amber Eskew would always dominate.
I could never remember who was the pickle queen.
That's her. It's Amber Eskew. Yeah, 100%. Even though I couldn't remember her name, I just knew her as pickle queen. That's terrible.
There was another one that was.
Was there?
A hot dog. She could swallow an entire hot dog.
Isn't that so demeaning though? Isn't that terrible? Some of these things, and then you look at not just camp, but doing stuff on the bus routes and stuff like that, not just swallowing goldfish, taking stuff a step further. It's just so demeaning to everyone, women especially, but to everyone. So anyways, I know we're trying to have good memories and I'm just bringing up all kinds of terrible stuff. But I remember those, weird chapel memories and stuff. And I think basketball was always a highlight. And then of course your pastor, no one could beat Lyle Dye. He was the best.
He was amazing about.
He was that was the weirdest thing, because he wasn't a young guy. He had not just the glasses, he had the band on the back to hold his glasses in place when he was playing basketball, and he would smoke every teenager. We would bring kids from Fort Wayne that were good, that could dunk. Kids would come with Three Rivers. No one could beat Lyle Dye. This is amazing. I couldn't, I'm in terrible shape now, but even if I was in good shape, I wouldn't put money on myself beating the guy ever.
Yeah. He would go to, there was a basketball.
He played pickup all the time, didn't he?
Yeah. There was a basketball court right around from our church, and he'd go and play with, local teenagers or whatnot.
Yeah.
And the Y as well.
I feel like he's not the kind of guy to hustle money, but he could have made so much money off of people. Just putting money down on his games, because he could win it single-handedly. It was ridiculous. So
he was a good guy, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's how I have that sentiment for a lot of people that either that are still in, or even that, that have gotten out or whatever, but, during their time within the IFB movement, they weren't, there wasn't malice. They were, they at times they were doing things that were somewhat malicious because they thought that's what they were needed to do to please God, or what they needed to do to please the man of God that was above them, Jack Scott, Jack Hyles, whoever it may be. Excuse me. But to have malice in their heart, there's plenty of them, but there are definitely quite a few that I can look back at and say there wasn't hard feelings from that guy. So, okay. So growing up, that was your childhood was very sheltered, would you say, as far as being in the IFB?
Absolutely. I went to a public school and then a small Christian school for just like first through second grade,
Okay.
kindergarten through second grade. And then I was homeschooled, and it was super locked down, only child. All my friends were just at church. I never needed a curfew because I was never out late.
You were already there.
Exactly. Yeah. And I basically, just grew up at the church.
Right.
I've been, stepping back and seeing memories through a different lens now, and
sure.
I lived at church.
You do. And speaking to that point, that's part of what qualified your family for the special status they had in the church, because you guys were, and it's not to belittle anyone or say someone didn't do their part or whatever, but like you guys were doing if you were at church the way you're saying, which I'm familiar, I'm a pastor's kid myself, so like I'm familiar with living at the church. So like, if you're saying you're living at the church, that there's a lot of people think I think that on the surface, a lot of people get you were there Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. No. Like, no. It was rare to not be there every day of the week for something. And it wasn't always like an activity or a pizza night or a tour group coming through. It was, hey, we need help mowing the lawn. We need you to come and clean this thing. And we need, right. Yeah. The buses, whatever it was, there was always something to be done. And there always is with any, moving machine type of a business, because churches are a business in my opinion, but that's a whole nother conversation. Most churches, I should say, but yeah, what you're saying and what I'm hearing and what I've experienced myself as well is that's your life. The church is your life. You are there all the time. And it's not an exaggeration to say I was at home or I was at church. And that was pretty much it. Unless you were at a conference at a different church.
Yeah.
So you're still at church.
And those are my vacations,
Oh, yeah.
Friends.
Absolutely. Yeah. By the way, your vacations that as a child, in most cases, you paid for, by the way. Mm-hmm. You sold candy bars, or you did car washes, or you talked to your parents. Now, you're an only child, so maybe
I could have slid by with that stuff.
Right. We're going to have to bring this episode to a close. We have a complete imposter here.
Does that count?
Doesn't count at all. No, you're out. I'll finish this episode by myself. We have talking points. Just talk about myself. I love it so much. No, just kidding. But that, again, it doesn't take away from and I'm joking with you, of course, but it doesn't take away from the fact that you were always there. You were paying your dues, and kids that, throughout, let's say one summer they had to do a car wash or two or sell some candy bars. Those kids, whether they were bus kids or just church kids that weren't as involved, they weren't at the church all the time doing all the work that you were doing. So to say you put in less work would obviously be a contradiction. That would not be true. But that is part of the dynamic, is having the yard sales. And I remember not the yard sales, but the car washes and so, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if you were involved in those types of activities just to help other kids. Right. You know what I mean? Where like you already had your money, like your parents already took care of it, or you had already earned it from your allowance or whatever. But these other kids still needed help, so you had to show up to help. That's just another church activity. Did you guys do car washes or no?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
Thinking back,
I had it dialed in.
I don't know. Was it through like a school that you would do it, or?
No, it was a church. No, it was a church. We would sell when my mom homeschooled us, we would sell candy bars out front of Walmart and Kmart and. Gotcha. Oh God! When I see kids selling candy, there's an IFB church right here, and I every once in a while I'll see the kids selling candy bars. It's not for a good cause. I don't believe in it at all, but I will still buy them because I feel terrible.
Mhm.
And part of me says that's just me being a good person. Part of me is like, you idiot, you're supporting the cause. I don't know. I just feel bad for the kids
You're
being
a
out
good
there.
person.
Thank you. Thank you. I needed that.
That's absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, no, we for the candy bar selling, mostly that was for every once in a while we would do it for camp and stuff. And we didn't do World's Finest. That's the big thing. I can't remember. We did Catherine Bike. Catherine Bike was the name of our candy bar. They were good too. The caramel ones were really good. But they were total knockoffs. They weren't like, I don't know why people even bought them, because World's Finest is not a knockoff, but it's its own brand. But like,
Yeah,
Catherine Bike was like, did you get these from Dollar Tree, or like, where are these? They looked like, it was like, again, it was the Dollar General version of something that was good. They were good candy bars, but they didn't look right. Anyways, that was for homeschool. But the car washes we would do as a youth group, we would go, our place was Pizza Hut. We would make a deal with them. I don't know if we gave them money or they just let us do it, but the local Pizza Hut in Knox would let us do car washes, and we do, I don't remember how many, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 1, depending on how much money. But it was kind of a pooled thing, so everyone would help, and then whoever needed whatever took whatever. And it was a free car wash though. We would tell people it was free, and then when you pull up, you would donate.
Tips. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tips is how it worked. So yeah, that was a mess. Those
So
poor
you were
girls out
well
there.
versed. You were
Say
well
that again.
versed in doing sales and stuff by the time you got to college.
Yeah, but I sucked at sales in college.
No, I mean selling candy bars and stuff.
Right, you would think, but no. Like, yes, I was well versed, but I'm still terrible at sales. I got fired from True Green twice, I think, and yeah, and this is how you judge your lack of success at keeping a job at Hyles-Anderson. If you end up, which I did, back at AmeriCall as a dude every year, then you're not good at keeping a job. Or the truth is, you go home every summer like a normal person instead of staying there to keep whatever, Yeah, exactly. Must be nice. No, I did. I went home every summer. I never bought the stay here for your bus ride. Like,
that's
no,
so crazy.
that was ridiculous.
Free labor.
Say that again.
It was free labor for all their ministries.
100%. And I remember having, I don't remember who, I don't know if, I feel like division leaders did this a lot, and sometimes bus captains, but I remember people getting financially withdrawn from school, right? So you didn't have money I was financially withdrawn a few times. I didn't have enough to pay my, room and board and tuition. That was just me. But I remember bus captains and division leaders they also had being in that position of like, I don't have enough money to pay for my, my schooling, but their City Baptist kids were fine. And I'm not saying to not take care of other people and to not have empathy, but oh my God, like, you got to take care of yourself first. You're going to get kicked out of school. What's going to happen to these kids whose bills are like, what? You're gone. So it was such an oxymoron. And yeah, you're right. Free labor and we've got more to talk about Hyles-Anderson, but the big one that gets me is, and I'm not mad at these people, but I seen one of them on a post, and I don't know when this episode will go up, but social media is, I spent 4 hours on it last night. It's the worst thing I've ever done. So bad. Well, I work on it, so that's one thing, but like, I wasn't working last night. I was just looking at every post about what's happening in the US
you went down the rabbit hole.
Oh man, that hurt. So there's not enough alcohol in the world, to be honest. So I tried. It's not there. Anyways, so all that. Sorry, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
That's when I binge watch shows on Netflix or something. Just get my mind off of it.
It was up. Netflix was open. It was begging me, "Hey, come watch The Office for the 5th time." I don't know what's wrong with me. I like to torture myself. But all that to say, like, I have seen a couple people leaving, different kind of comments. I'm not gonna get into that, but it does frustrate me the amount of people who get stuck there, who don't, maybe they do graduate or they don't, and they're just, now I don't mean people that live near there, it just worked out, they got married or whatever and they don't go anymore, but people that still go, are still involved, they're still like stuck there. I'm just like, I don't hate them, I'm not mad at them, and I don't want to be unkind by saying this, but I legitimately feel bad for them. I'm like, man, because I feel bad because I see myself in them, and I'm like, man, that could have easily been me, and I'm not better than them because I'm on the West Coast. It's not my choice to be here. I wouldn't be here if I didn't have to be, but like, that's I don't know. I feel empathy, whether they want me to or not, for people that are still stuck in that free labor space, like
Yeah.
driving a bus,
Yeah.
running a bus route, helping this ministry, that ministry. Like, man, just go.
Killing yourself
Yeah, you
for
are.
a cause and
Hmm.
not
You're in
really.
a. This isn't unkind to anyone that does multi-level marketing, because it really works. It's a real thing. Not for me, because I can't do sales, remember, but you're in that environment. You're in a spiritual downline. You really are. You're underneath someone else, and you'll never get this upper echelon, unlike an MLM where you can work your way all the way up. You know what I mean? In
Yeah.
this, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. You're stuck. You'll never be good enough. You'll never get enough people to come. You'll never give enough money to whatever building fund they're pushing. So, okay, I need to stop. We'll go back down that path in a little bit. There are some very pointed questions that I think our audience will be helped by your answers to. So I want to get to those. Where would you say you are? I think everyone's on their own journey. And what I love about doing this podcast and about having conversations about God and religion on social media is that, or just with friends in general, is that everyone's not in the same place. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Some people get hung up on that and want the other person to be in their place, or can't understand why, they're in the place that they are. What people get crossways with that, I get it. But I do love how often we're in different places in our journey, not necessarily out of or away from anything, just in our own becoming who we are. We're in a different place. So I'd like to hear where you're at in your place of, like, when it comes to God and or religion. You can leave religion out if you want, that's fine, but like where you're at with God, where you're at with religion at this point in your life.
Okay.
It's a big one, I know.
It's kind of evolved, and
Sure.
I hate to use that word, but it has. I was knee deep in it as a child and indoctrinated, and just kind of grew up with, well, this is what we do, and followed
Right.
like a good obedient little sheep. And even into my marriage, I was diligent in doing everything the way I was supposed to, but seeing the cracks in just the hypocrisy of the IFB started me down this path of thinking kind of outside the box. I believe in God. I want to make that clear.
Awesome.
I do believe God. I'm not trying to swing the pendulum, far to the right or far to the
Sure.
left anymore. I'm just starting out with God and the Bible and working my way out from there.
Yeah.
So, little things, just breaking them down and figuring out what do I believe in, where are my stance on issues. And I have to say, my husband has been an amazing support in this.
That's awesome.
Just kind of, both of us have really just been fed up with the IFB and fed up with the legalism and the man worshiping.
Oh my God.
If you will.
We could talk about that for 4 or 5 hours.
I definitely would not consider myself a Baptist anymore. And where to put myself in a box of, well, I'm this religion.
You definitely don't have to do that. No boxes here.
I have no idea where I would fit,
Good.
And that's really, your podcast was kind of the start of that.
Oh my. Okay. Well, that's a terrible way to start, but good.
well, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I was doing some research and stuff, and I was researching about this story that kind of blew up in Wildemar, and your podcast came up, and I'm like, nice. Oh, so I'm not alone, and started listening to you and started really thinking, and I don't know, it just kind of snowballed from there. But yeah, I definitely believe in God, and we hold services at our home.
Oh, that's cool.
So my husband, he felt like God was leading him to be a pastor.
Okay.
Out of quite of a verbally abusive ministry out west, and
gotcha.
We were basically kicked out.
Oh wow. Okay, nice. Well, you can't really speak your mind, especially, again, I don't know the whole situation, but if it's a verbally abusive, which my dad worked for a guy in Alabama by the name of Randy Toole. I don't mind dropping that name, but like that guy is just, I had a dear friend that actually worked there for a little while, and he hit me up before he went out there. And I wasn't in a place where I could say, no, screw that guy, but I knew better. And I was like, man, I can't tell you not to go. And he's not there anymore. But, it was if you're in a verbally, if leadership or authority in church is verbally abusive, if you decide to speak your mind, that's they'll only let you do it so much, in my opinion, before they're like, you're done.
Well, that was the thing. Like, we hadn't really spoken our mind. We hadn't really gotten to that point of, this is wrong.
Right.
But when we said that we felt God was moving us, it was like, okay, goodbye.
So it's a good riddance kind of thing.
Pretty much, yeah. So we were left on our own to try and figure things out to start a church, and here we are several years later, just having services in our home, just our family. But I really feel like that was kind of God's leading, because I was away from the IFB, away from all the prying eyes and the fake. There was so much fake. You had to be fake in order to look the part. You know what I mean? You
can't survive without it. Yeah. I want to be careful because it's easy in the day and age that we live in, specifically, literally this day. Like there's so many blanket statements about so many things. But I don't think it is untrue to say that by and large, not in every instance, but by and large, much of religion thrives on hypocrisy. Because if you look at most people's, and I'm not just saying the King James Bible, and I'm not here to condemn all religions or religion, just religion, but like the problem, I think one of the biggest, if you look back or think back to trying to go knock on doors or trying to talk to friends and family members about your beliefs, I think as we have seen here, my memory is crap. But if I could remember one big objection that I kept getting was hypocrisy, and the fact that there's so many what about all these hypocritical people? And I would just immediately dismiss that. But now I look at it and I say, yeah, like hypocrisy is a fulcrum of not all and not every, but of many religions. When you look at their holy book, it's written so long ago. And again, I'm not here to get into the Bible versions debate.
Oh man.
Yeah, exactly. We're not doing that, but I will say from everything, the what is it? The Torah, the Quran, like the Bible, the King James Word. Like if you look at there's so many stringent sets of rules that it's like I'm not promoting lawlessness, but my goodness, like you can't. Thou shalt not lie. Cool story, bro. Like I'm not advocating lying, but like that's the big one. That's the one where when you're out, when you can always get someone on thou shalt not lie because everyone's done it. Come on, man. Like, anyways, I'm gonna rage against Jesus and Moses and the Ten Commandments. That's not what this is about. But I'm just speaking to the hypocrisy. It's huge. It's important to most religions, and it's scary. I remember being a youth pastor and realizing like I would legitimately preach against movies and music and video games on Sunday, and then on Monday morning, Sunday night, I would be up late playing those video games. The scariest part was when I had the kids over, the kids, because I was living in the parsonage across the a parking lot from the church, and the kids were over for some activity and they found my Xbox games. Like, oh no, now they know.
Change my sermons around.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I don't remember. I think I just like played it off. Oh no, I think I told them that a friend of mine stopped over, and I made up some ridiculous lie. I was telling Troy Lewis that's what I was telling him, that a friend stopped over and left it. There's not even in there. That's just the case, and it wasn't, because it was in the Xbox. So my story held up. Just don't turn on my Xbox, kid. Anyways, yeah. So, but that's the hypocrisy. You have to, when you get to where it, and I think my opinion is that it really messes with your head when you have to live in it and exist within it, and then that can really skew your moral compass. It can really skew your opinions of people and of yourself, because now what's right and what's wrong, you've blurred it so bad, and you've pulled yourself so many different directions that it can really mess with you, for sure. And that's something my therapist has had to deal with. But anyways, hypocrisy. Sorry.
No, I can definitely speak to that, because we were growing up. We didn't have a TV.
We didn't either. We got it for the Gulf War.
it was underneath the table, and I remember there would be times where it was like, quick, mad dash, shove it under the table, preacher's here, you know.
Okay, okay.
But the funny thing is, he had a TV. So you know, I
But
grew up
again,
with
but
that
he is the man of God, so he could
Right.
control it. You guys can't. You guys, it was just out of control in your house. The TV was just blaring. Yeah, we had we didn't have one, and then we got one little tiny red one. We got it for the Gulf War, when that was going on, and then my dad committed the wicked sin of keeping it past the Gulf War. Yeah, I know, how dare. And I remember we lived in this little house, 4 kids, both our parents, little 1-bedroom house up on a hill in Ober, Indiana. And I remember one night, and I've probably told this story 5 times on the podcast, but I don't care. I'm going to tell it again. But I remember one night, this was after the Gulf War was over. We still had that wicked, you know, what devil body. There's all kinds of words for it. Larry, what's his name? Larry Brown probably had some. Do you remember Larry smashing TVs?
Yeah, I worked with his daughter.
Oh my God, Larry's wild. All the Browns are wild. I'm sorry. I've got stories about Jerry and Rachel, but we won't get into that. So I remember my dad, something came on the TV. It was a commercial. It was black and white. It was nothing. Yeah. And I remember something came on the TV, some kind of commercial, and he got so mad, he legit ripped it out of, like, didn't unplug it, just took it out to the trash barrel, the burn barrel, and threw it. Yes. And then we ended up getting what we would call, just a DVD player, basically. We got a monitor, but that thing was this computer screen is bigger than that thing was. My laptop computer screen is bigger. But we had that. I remember we had that as a teenager. That's what we had to watch, VHS. We would get, not even rent, because you can't go to the movie store.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Well, we would get them from the library. We would get stuff.
Same here.
Right?
And they couldn't be rated either. If they were rated,
it had to be G or PG. And then if, like, there was a bad scene, my mom would get up, or my sisters would get up and put a pillow, because it was that small. I almost said an expletive there. Like, it was that small that they could put a little, the couch pillows in front of the screen, so we didn't see that. And I remember every once in a while we'd buy something. If we really liked it, we'd get find a VHS somewhere, we'd buy it. And then we would tape the little ants or whatever, the snowstorm, we taped that over the bad scenes. And I remember now, since then, there's movies that I like. There's an old movie called The Sackets with Tom Selleck. And I love, Cowboys was my thing growing up. And I remember the scene. I remember very well where it was, because I watched the movie over and over. But I remember the bad scene. I remember watching it as an adult and being like, wait, what happened? Because I know this was a wicked scene. But no one was cursing. No one was, having intercourse. None of that. It was just, I don't know, they were making out or something.
Oh, my goodness.
It had to be taped over. And that's not against my parents. I love them to death. They are treasures. But, like, it's just funny to look back on that stuff that was like, oh my God, I've got to cover this up. Like,
cover your eyes, turn your head.
I need to find this meme. I sent it to the family, the group chat, but it's something about it's a cat and it's sitting backwards on the couch. So, like, looking at the cushion instead of looking out. And it's something about, like, when a sex scene comes on and you're watching a movie with your family and the cat's like, interesting, and it's looking the opposite way of the TV. Anyways, it makes more sense as a meme than when you say memes. Don't make sense when you say them. But anyways, hypocrisy.
Yes, that was quite the rabbit trail.
Yeah, I'm good at this.
I don't even remember where we were.
Yeah, but I don't either. But hypocrisy is, I think that is something that, whether that's a catalyst for people to leave a cult or the IFB or just a stringent religious system, whatever it is that is your trigger, you might say, to get you to leave, I think hypocrisy is definitely, whether it's the thing that makes you go or it's part of it, or after you're out, it's a huge part of, what does Josh Owens call it? Phil Drysdale too, deconstruction. It's a huge part of just, you becoming who you are, just looking at how ludicrous the hypocrisy is in what you were involved in I think it's a big thing. And I think it deserves to be a big part of the conversation for people that are thinking about leaving, people that have left, people that are still trying to process what in the world even went on when they were in it. So what would you say? So now that we're kind of at this point in the conversation, would you, and then again, share at your comfort level, but what would you say, would you have kind of a moment, or was there a process? You already said, like, we'll just take credit. I'm going to write a review and put your name on it. Not Your Mother's Podcast, help me leave the IFB. No, we're not going to do that. But what would you say was there kind of a process? Was there kind of a moment? Was it just, and I guess you've already addressed, like, being, leaving the church that you guys were in. And I remember a similar situation, even though we were still IFB, when we were in Indiana, my dad tried to, we were moving to another church in Missouri, and he tried to tell the church we were leaving, and they weren't, like, they were mad that we were leaving, but so mad that we couldn't gradually leave. They had to, like, boot us that day. It was weird. It was all weird. And I was a child, so I don't remember that much of it. Okay, anyways, I was trying to ask you a question and can't stop talking. So my question is there kind of a moment or kind of a process that you would look at for your departure from the IFB, or is that just kind of what you already said? Like, we left the church and that was it, or was there more after that kind of?
There was a process.
Okay.
Like I said, as a kid, I kind of saw through the cracks a little bit.
Good.
But didn't really say much, just watched.
Mm-hmm.
I was molested as a child.
Oh my, I'm so sorry.
That has always played a part in who I was, and always felt like, I had to be this fake person so that people wouldn't see that. And it wasn't any fault of mine. It wasn't anybody from the church.
Okay.
But that stayed with me, and
Sure.
And seeing the stories kind of blow up in the last couple of years, it was very real for me, because I'm reliving what happened to me and thinking, oh my goodness, I can't imagine, what these other people are going through. And it made me sick to my stomach, knowing that this is the church religion that I grew up in. These are the foundations that I was taught from the men of God that I was taught from. And, just my whole world kind of blew up at that point. And that's when I found your podcast. And so over the course of, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so, a lot changed. I was listening to more and more stories, and at the same time, I was doing a physical transformation as well, and I had no idea that exercise is actually a form of healing, much like therapy.
Yes.
So I was working on the physical aspects of it and working through it emotionally as well. And those cracks just kept getting bigger and bigger. And at one point, I'm just like, I don't identify with the IFB. I keep wanting to say the FBI.
And when you tell most people, normal people, not us, not calling us weirdos, but whatever, like, that's what they hear. They're like, we were in the Federal Bureau. No, it's not that at all. IFB, Baptist movement. Yes.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But no, I felt like this is all wrong. This is, if you really think back to it, you were taught man-made traditions.
Oh, yeah.
They would take a Bible verse and then they would just make this whole thing up. And like you were saying earlier, the hypocrisy of it, it became more evident. And it took me a long time to see it, but I'm glad I did.
I'm glad for you,
Well, thank you. But, just looking back now and seeing how I was raised and that indoctrination, I was brainwashed.
Oh, yeah.
So, that was kind of our exit. It was a slow, gradual, but like I said, we were meeting at home.
Yeah.
So we weren't having to explain ourselves to people. But things kind of came to a head as far as my family. They were kind of the ones that kicked me out officially. They are very much IFB. They're very staunch in it, and they don't understand my point of view anymore. And it all started with, my health and fitness. I became a health coach, and
was it kind of standards kind of thing? Is that what it was?
It definitely was. I was sharing posts of me in a tank top, and that is wickedness all around. And
Yes.
You know, so simple things like that. I mean, normal people wouldn't think that that's a big deal, but it was.
It's a huge deal.
It is.
When you've built, you know, like you said, when you've taken all these verses out of context, when you've got one verse in Deuteronomy that's supposed to tell you women exactly what you're supposed. Are you kidding me? You've got 66 books, thousands of verses, and this one verse in the Old Testament is going to tell you not to dress like a man, technically, from the KJV interpretation, back when everyone wore robes. Are you kidding me? Anyways, but yeah, when you've built so much on, but then that opened for the leadership of the IFB, that opens so many doors. They can say all kinds of stuff, and it's really, in my opinion, based on 1950s America. It's based on the America of Jack Hyles, and so I'm not saying that he started everything, but he did. So
he made it prevalent.
Yeah, he did, and I think people have told me Oliver B. Green and a couple others were kind of the predecessors, but either way, Jack Hyles made it more mainstream than it was before. And that's what it was based. It was based on Jack Hyles' America. And that's why you had to wear dresses. And that's why, yeah, you can't, like, there's finger rules. And
oh, yes, the 2 fingers from the collarbone. And if a dress went farther than that, you had to wear this piece of material. They called it a dickie.
What? You can't make it up. You can't make it up.
Oh. It was just a piece of material that you would pin to your bra straps. And I felt so liberated the day I threw those out. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. There's so much. But here's what's crazy is, like, for guys, it was don't wear shorts. And then hair, right? But that was it. For apparel, it was don't wear shorts. That was
easy.
We had it so easy. And some churches didn't care if you wore shorts. Like out here in California, like Bruce Goddard's church, they don't care. Bruce wears shorts all the time. That's a whole nother conversation. But like that's just, it's wild to me that, I mean, from nylons to your dress length to the slit length and I'm not trying to be perverse with any of it. It's just unreal to me that guys, it was don't wear shorts, and girls, it was, well, you need to read this whole list of stuff that you can and can't do. Like, are you kidding me? And I was watching, it's so bad. How long ago was this? Maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I went down a rabbit hole. I've been doing that. This isolation, this quarantine has not been good for my mental health or my physical health. But I went down the rabbit hole of I was listening to tour CDs, which is always a bad idea, but whatever. And I posted one on Facebook, and the response was pretty funny from the year I went. And then also I was listening. I'll go through and listen to Jack Scott sermons every once in a while. And I was listening to, I think it was Polished Shaft, I'm pretty sure, and it's classic teachings of the faith. And I remember I won't say it on here because it is really gross, but like there's so much stuff that he would say that just the way that clips work, like nowadays you can get anyone in trouble with a little tiny clip you take out of context. It's very easy to do. Please, anyone that's listening to this podcast, don't get any ideas because I don't even want to think about the potential there. But I was watching and he was talking about, the finger rule, right? But the way he was saying it and talking about fingers, it was really not good. I would send it to a bunch of my friends and they were like, what on earth is this stuff? And I'm like, he's in jail. And they're like, well, of course he's in jail. Listen to what he's saying about. Oh my God. Anyways. But yeah, the hypocrisy is. Okay, so you were saying your exit, and then, and again, I don't want to ask for more details than you're comfortable sharing, but I understand that concept, honestly, because I tried to do the love the sinner, hate the sin kind of, which is not, that's a whole podcast or two in and of itself about how ridiculous that idea is. But I tried to use that idea with my sisters when I was still in, and they were kind of like, screw this, I'm going to wear pants or do whatever I want, or just be an independent woman. Like, that's not okay. And so I kind of try to treat them kindly, but also I was very upset by their lack of standards, as we call them, which is just legalism. That's all it is. Yeah. That's all it is. So I don't fully understand because I wasn't in your shoes, but I get where you're coming from as far as like, family just wasn't going to have it. And I don't, again, I've said it before many times here, but like luck, I'm not a big fan of luck because I work really hard for anything that I get. But like if I ever have gotten lucky, it's with my family, and the fact that we're all out. My dad's still a pastor, but he's not an IFB. He's not even a Baptist pastor. He wouldn't call himself that. So, um, yeah, I'm sorry about your family, and I feel terrible when people tell me that because I have, and it's not to put it in anyone's face, but I've been lucky really to have a good relationship with my family through all of it, because so many of us, you know, exiting, even if your family gets out after or before you, there's still some issues. And in most cases, that's the reason why so many people stay in. I think not just because if you leave, you're going to lose your job and a lot of things you can lose.
Yeah.
You're going to lose your family connections. It's a real thing. So I'm sorry.
It is. We were the only ones that really got into the Baptist religion. Everybody else from my family was not.
Gotcha.
So
you're saying your immediate family was the ones that were very involved. Gotcha.
Yeah, we were the weird ones.
Right. Yeah. So were we. So we're same exact story. Yep.
But no, thankfully I have, had great connection with everybody else, and it really helped. It's helped to heal. It's helped to just get that outside perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes, something bad will happen and I'll be like, oh, is this God judging me for, for that's such and such? And that's that old mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But, I try and remind myself what the mindset was when you saw people leaving. We were very quick to judge, and, oh, that person's wearing pants. Oh my goodness. How dare they? And, that was ingrained in us to do. So
it's not unlike the principle of it pervaded into the New Testament, but it's kind of this principle of, oh, you were born blind, or you were born maimed, or you were born with some. Well, what sins did your parents do to make you this way? It's the same principle that's carried over when you leave the church. Well, what did so and so do wrong? Why did they leave? Like what's wrong with them? And in many cases, the people that were in leadership were the ones that had the real problems. Mm-hmm. Now they're getting arrested and being put, you know what I mean? Like that's where the real problems are. But we didn't look at that. We looked at, oh, well, so-and-so left, and now, oh my God, they've fallen so far. And like you said, wearing pants, that was the big one. And I still do that on Facebook in the opposite way. Whether I get a friend request or I'm looking like, hey, maybe would be aligned or whatever, I go look through their profile pictures. Yeah. Where are they cropped? Are they afraid to show whether or not they're wearing pants? These women, and again, it's not against the women. It's just that for me is a big indicator of how far out you are. Are you even out yet? And in many cases, there are a lot of women who still, abide by the stringent standards, but they're done. They're ready to be out. They're over it, but they're stuck. So anyways, it's not really a good indicator. The pants isn't, but I still use it the other way around now. But yeah, like, oh, he grew, his hair is so long now, or she's wearing pants, or we saw them at the movie theater, or we saw them at the liquor store, right? Those are big ones. Big ones.
The movie theater thing. I have not been to a movie theater since I was 5. The last movie I remember watching was Home Alone.
I watched it at home. I go to a movie theater.
So, we decided that we were going to take the kids to go to a movie.
Yes.
And then COVID-19
no.
happened, and everything.
Are you kidding me?
Oh. So, yeah, talk about, man, is this God?
Yeah, God is totally judging you. The whole COVID thing is just to keep you guys from the movie. Yeah, it's just for y'all. It's just for y'all. It came all the way from China just to screw up your lives. Or wherever it came. I don't know where it came from. I'm not a scientist. But yeah, I feel the guilt there. I could totally get that. I'm just like, oh my. But isn't it? It's crazy that you would even. And I am not diminishing your thought, and I'm not trying to say, oh, you're stupid. Like that's not. I'm not there at all. But like, isn't it crazy that we would have? It's so ingrained in us that like this enormous pandemic that came. Obviously, I believe from a different, country and has infected thousands of people. Could it be just to keep me from going to the theater? Yeah. In the IFB world, absolutely. Yes, absolutely, it could have. In the real world, that sounds bonkers. It is insane, but not inside their little tiny microcosm. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, movie theaters was a big one. I again, when I was a rebellious youth pastor, we went and watched. I think actually we went to. Well, I'm pretty sure I saw all. Oh, here we go. Oh boy, I saw all the Twilights. I'm pretty sure in theaters. I honestly don't think they're bad movies. I'm not sure about Robert Pattinson coming out as Batman right now. I am having trouble with that. But used to Ben Affleck, I would still take over him. But anyways, whatever. But I think those were the first ones that I saw. But that was, when I was in between, because I had a year before my then wife graduated. So I graduated 08, she graduated 09. So that was kind of my rebellious time of movies or getting a we got Blockbuster, and then of course we went to work at the church and we couldn't have any of that. But yeah, we went but again, I went as a youth pastor to see, wasn't one of them called, I think one of them is called Eclipse. I don't know, I should look it up. But I think one of the Twilight movies is called Eclipse.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. But I remember we had to drive to GR. We had to go to Grand Rapids to go watch it. We couldn't watch it local. Although, to be fair, yeah, right. But to be fair, I'm not sure if Big Rapids had a movie theater. So Grand Rapids might have actually been the closest movie theater.
True. Very true. It's one of those blink you miss it towns.
Yes, 100%. Well, Morley even worse.
Yes.
Or more so, not worse. I loved Morley. But movie theaters were a big one. And then, now being out here and, just doing my own thing, I'm like, okay, I love going to the movie theaters. This is great. Well, when they're open. If they don't all close after this, I don't know. No, I thoroughly enjoy it. But yeah, it's crazy that something like that. And then if you remember, the movie theaters and the movie store were both big no-nos. But like trying to explain to someone why there were no-nos was so problematic. No-nos meaning, I don't know why sound like I'm talking to my 6-year-old right now, but like, it was a sin. It was bad to go to the movie theaters because you couldn't control what in the movie. Okay, so let me hear your logic. If let's see if they align. But what I was told and told to tell and retold to like my cousins who were like, "Are you a dumb person?" Was that you can't control the previews that come on, and you can't control like the movie posters you walk past. That's why you can't go to a movie theater, and that's why you can't go to the movie store, because you never know what other movies, like what you're going to see. You also never know what you're going to see when you walk out your front door. Are you kidding me? Like, it's the same logic that I should just stay inside and never go anywhere and order everything on Amazon, but only through some kind of site blocker. Exactly. What am I going to do?
Live in a cave.
Well, really, that's what they wanted.
No, our philosophy behind it was.
Oh, it's different. You had a different one?
Oh, yeah.
This is great. I'm so excited.
My dad was a bus captain, so bus kids might see us at the movie theater and think that we were going to see an R-rated movie rather than an innocent child movie.
Right.
So yeah, appearance was everything.
I think I do remember that one. Yeah.
And I don't even remember why we couldn't go into Blockbuster, because our preacher took me for times that we would spend the night or whatnot, because I was only allowed to go over to their house.
Right. Yes. There was a very short list. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
I think it was relatives. That was it for me. There was no one that we lived near or anyone. Like, we were either all the way down in Napanee with my cousins, or we were in Pennsylvania with my grandparents. That was it. And that was because we were on a trip. That's the only time we were staying the night anywhere else. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry. Is this Lyle Dye? Is he the one going? I love it.
I mean, they were good movies.
Of course, yeah. No, he's not
bad, but it was very flip side from how I was raised. And I think my parents did that on purpose. They kind of took Pastor Dye's standards and went above and
further.
Beyond.
Yeah. I dealt with that as well.
Yeah, we would only go to the library to find stuff, and it was usually black and white.
Yep. Oh yeah, I have. Yeah, I love my black and white stuff. I have Charlie Chaplin movies that he doesn't talk in. I love them. I think they're great. And that's part of that is because Three Stooges. Oh my God, I watched so much Three Stooges. Yes. I love the Three Stooges. Red Skeleton was great. Victor Borga. I don't know if that would even ring a bell with you, but Victor was he actually got kicked out of Nazi Germany for making fun of Hitler. He's a Jew. It makes sense. I would too if I was him. But like, he did piano. It was weird. He does piano comedy. It was all based around his piano. Yeah, weird, but very talented pianist. Kind of like, have you heard of the Smothers Brothers? No? I need to send you some links. Anyways, they're more from like the, 50s, 60s. But again, it was musical comedy. Not like a musical, but like there was a lot of like music infused into their comedy. So
It
anyways.
sounds like I would enjoy it.
Oh, you would? Yeah. If you like the old stuff, you would like them for sure. Let me ask you about this then. What was it like choosing? We're going to talk about college now. Here we go. So everyone buckle in. So what was it like choosing a Bible college? Did you have choices? Did you have pretend choices? I had pretend choices. I knew I was going to go to Hyles-Anderson. The tour groups came every year. That's all I wanted to do. I really did want to. And, my parents both said, you have a choice where you want to go. But, the pastor of the church I was at and my conditioning from childhood it was going to be Hyles-Anderson. I did have a few moments my senior year where I wasn't sure. And my pastor's son had gone to Grace Baptist in Michigan, John Jenkins school. Yeah. And so, yeah. And so, I struggled a little bit, but I knew eventually like it was going to be Hyles-Anderson. What about you? Was it kind of like a foregone conclusion, or was it something where it was kind of left up to you to decide?
It was really left up to me to decide.
Oh, good.
And I do remember kind of near the time of searching for colleges, my parents got a hold of some sort of, I don't even know what it was, but we sent out like hundreds of different applications to hundreds of different colleges. Yeah.
Wow.
Across
must be nice being an only child. You can do that kind of crap. No, just kidding.
Well, I don't even remember all the different ones. I think there was one down in Florida.
There's Pensacola and
it
Bob
wasn't
Jones
Pensacola, but I want to say it was Trinity.
I don't know where that's at, but that makes sense though.
But my husband actually went to Berean.
Okay.
But let's see. I was planning on, for the longest time, I was planning on going to Texas Baptist College. Everybody else in my
that place is so scary.
Everybody else in my teen group was hardcore Hyles-Anderson. They had signed up for that little Hylander club thing.
Oh, I was in the. Oh my God, I was totally in the Hylander club. Oh wow.
Yes. But yeah, every youth conference I felt shamed because everybody was told, if you're in the Hylander club, stand up, and I'd be the only one in my teen group that was sitting. I'm like, no, I'm going to Texas College. And it was because I am not a morning person. I hate mornings.
Mornings are the worst.
Do not get along. It's the reason
I see your coffee. Yeah. You're getting ready for tomorrow morning. I got you. Yeah. It's funny, just to interject, it's funny that you say Texas because I but two, maybe three of the guys that were members of the church in Morley when I was there that were teenagers back probably a little bit before I would have been going off to college, but they went to Texas. Jeff Hayden, and I feel like Tim McCammon might have gone as well. Anyways, whatever, but it's just funny. Yeah.
But no, I needed that structure, and I knew that Texas Baptist did that. I mean, they're very strict with what time you get up and what time you do your devotions, and you had to write it down on a little piece of paper or something.
Oh my God, yeah.
But anyway, no, all the way up until my senior year, and the tour groups would come to our church every year. I loved hearing them. We would host them at our house.
Yeah.
And whatnot. But my senior year, things kind of blew up with Texas Baptist. Do you remember the Marcos?
That name sounds really familiar.
Doug Marco was an evangelist.
Oh, yeah. Didn't we go to school with the Marco? Real slick back hair kid? Yeah. I remember him, I guess. I don't feel like I remember his parents, though. But isn't Doug Jr.?
Doug Jr. we went to college with.
School with. Yeah, okay. That means about then.
And Jennifer, too, his younger sister. But no, they were kind of.
Clearly, I'm conditioned to remember men and not women. This is awful. Except for my buddy Brian. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
So terrible.
That is so true. Yes.
Yeah.
But no, they would come to our church every year for a revival, and we just loved them.
Yeah.
And they were based out of Texas,
Gotcha. They were an evangelist out of the church. Yeah.
Of Grace Church.
Longview Baptist Temple.
And he lambasted them all over the nation, calling pastors, telling them. I don't even remember what happened.
So he had a falling out with Bob Gray Sr.
He did, and it really hurt his reputation.
Oh, yeah, that'll kill you in the IFB.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, you do anything that crosses a pastor.
Especially a big one like that.
Yeah. And I don't even think there was anything at fault on his part, but.
Probably not.
Doesn't matter, his name distracted the mud.
Yep.
And I thought, I don't want to be associated with a college that does that.
Right.
So I went to Hyles-Anderson.
Who does the same thing, just wasn't as publicized at the time.
Oh my goodness.
That's
so yeah,
hilarious.
I signed up for the last year of the Hylander Club.
Oh, you got in the Hylander Club. Yes.
Yeah, always
oh, that's right. You did get that. Yep.
Yeah.
Here's another funny $100 story. I had some deal with Pete Cowling, of all people, and when I got there, he gave me $100. I remember him giving me $100 bill. Like that was part of his deal. Yeah, Skinflint Pete. Yeah, but yeah, I remember him giving me $100. I don't know what I did with that $100 bill, but I'm sure it fed me some food because I was hungry. But yeah, I remember him giving, like, that was part of it. Like, that wasn't like, oh, you came, here's $100. It was like a year ahead of time. He had told me, I'm going to give you this if you come to Hyles-Anderson College.
Okay.
Phil Sally also promised me a job, but that never happened. Yes. Please continue. I got a job, but it had nothing to do with Phil. He just shipped me off to AmeriCall.
He was good at talking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was great at it. He's a salesman. That's all he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The job he would tell
too, but,
that were all available for everybody to take, and then you get there,
and all of a sudden it wasn't there. It was smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, and for the girls, it was even worse.
Oh, because all you had was AmeriCaller on campus, right? That was pretty much it.
Yeah. Until a little bit later, they kind of got a little more relaxed.
Relaxed. They had to. They needed the money. You got to pay the bills. Now, okay, I got to ask you this. So, and I know you have more to say, and I don't want to interrupt your, getting to college and all that. Did you work at AmeriCall?
No.
Okay, you didn't work at AmeriCall, but I'm sure you had close friends that worked at AmeriCall.
Yes.
So if you don't know the answer, this is guys, I'm just going to say this to the audience right now. I didn't write this down. She doesn't know. This is an unprepped question, so she may not know the answer. That's okay. Do you know whether or not the girls' checks had to run through the college first before they could get paid? Do you remember that being a thing, or doesn't really ring a bell? Doesn't look like it rings a bell.
That was not anything. I don't know.
To deal with it, yeah.
I
feel like I remember them having to not only their check. I feel like their checks got routed legit straight through to tuition and then tithe, and then they got to keep what came after that.
It probably did.
I could be incorrect, but I need to find out. I need to figure out what's what on that, if that's legitimate or not.
I worked in the yearbook office, and I was paid. I can't remember what they called it, but
you worked in the yearbook office from the get-go, right? What year did you get there?
I got there in 2003.
Okay, so
I did not start work scholarship. My parents were like, you know what? We want you to just study, work hard.
That's why you grimaced. Yeah, okay. I got you.
But during the freshman classes, you didn't have any classes on Mondays.
Yep.
Which was nice, but
that's great.
I was so bored. For the first couple months, I'm like, I need something to do.
That's
and so I remember going down to, I think it was Kevin Cowling was over work scholarship, and so I went to his office and I'm like, look, man, I'm a quick learner. I will do anything. Please just
bored out of my mind.
And somebody had just gotten kicked out, and he was yearbook staff. So he's like, how good are you with computers and stuff like that? I'm like, I'll learn. So I worked from then on at the yearbook office.
Yeah, because I have the 2004 yearbook. I wish I had all my yearbooks. I don't know what happened to them, which really bums me out. Yeah, but I have my 2004 yearbook, and you're in there. You're in the back. I mean, you're in there other places, but you're in the you're in the back as part of the staff. I think maybe which one was it, Kevin or Keith? That's at the Keith, right?
Keith. Kevin is the one in Arizona.
Arizona, yeah. Me and Keith had it out. That's a whole other story. But I think Berkowitz took over right after him, or not.
Well, no. Brian Berkowitz was the office manager.
I got you.
Keith was over
Brian.
Like, all of it.
Gotcha.
He was the boss.
Yeah. Well, he's a Cowling. That's how it works. Hyles-Anderson. That's just what it is. So you're getting the choice. That is interesting though. That like it was TBC all the way up until your senior year, and like, you know what? Because of this Marco situation, I'm going to go to Hyles-Anderson. That's interesting.
Oh well.
Yeah.
too, you know, from the get-go of talking about college and whatnot,
Yeah.
our pastor was always like, you know, when you're a senior, you need to have counseling session with your pastor and,
Yes.
you know, really get God's will for your life, you know, all set and ready to go. And so senior year, I'm like, okay, Pastor Di, you know, where's my counseling session?
Right.
You know, and he's like, well, I can't tell you where to go to college. That's between you and God. I'm like, okay.
I just play basketball. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So yeah, it really was left up to me.
That's good though. To me, that shows. I don't know, you know what, you know where he would land on things like mental health and stuff like that, but that shows some actual like leadership. Like, hey, while it might seem to some like, this is my opinion, obviously, but while it might seem to some like he's just saying like, oh, I don't know, you figure it out. That's also him not being incredibly overbearing, which was an easy thing for every pastor to do. You know, tell you how to live your life. When I was a youth pastor, I was telling kids, well, you can't date him. You can't date. I remember bringing poor Austin Corporal. It's hilarious because Austin ended up marrying Caitlin. These are two kids for the youth group I was in. But I remember bringing him in. I could be wrong, but I'm 99% sure I brought him into the parsonage to chew him out for like wanting to be with Caitlin. And then he ended up marrying her, which is, I think, a beautiful thing. I think it's great. It's hilarious. But like, yeah, the pastors have such autonomy and such rule over your life that I like hearing stories where the pastor's like, no, that's your call. It's pretty unheard of, actually.
Well, you know, there was a little bit of
some direction.
there. Yeah, you know, he was good about giving people the reins to their life on that front. But on the flip side of that, you know, he would teach you should be doing more for God every single year, and if you were doing less, you were made to feel like you're not a good Christian,
less of a person.
You're backsliding, that kind of thing. So you would very easily get burned out if you continue down that path. But I am grateful that, you know, he was not pressuring me into going to one place.
That's awesome.
So it was my decision to go to
You did it to yourself. That's hilarious. So you were there from 03 to 07 then, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, as fast as I could.
I always like to hear different perspectives because no one, even though we all were at the same place around the same time, no one has the exact same perspective on everything. You did work in the bus ministry for a time, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it was right from the get-go too.
Yeah.
Opening
well, they get
day.
you. Join my bus route.
Little piranhas. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about your opening day, but for mine, apparently, you know, they had those little meetings beforehand where all the upperclassmen are like, okay, you need to get yourself a lady worker, a male worker. You get yourself
get them all hyped up.
Get them on the bus.
Yes.
And so that's what happened. You know, opening day, I'm overwhelmed because I graduated with 3 other people.
I graduated with, it was me and one other person. So like I was able to always say, hey, 50% of my class came to Hyles-Anderson College. I said it all the time. It sounded so great. But it was just me.
Yeah, exactly, right. But yeah, I graduated with other people, but they all kind of bailed on me. And so I was by myself. Of course, I knew people that were going there, freshmen, you know, from camps and whatnot.
It's still scary.
But it is. It's terrifying.
Scary.
And this was my first time being away from home. And
the big thing is that this is not just like people look at it and say, okay, it's college, but you got to understand people like me and you and many others, like while we went to youth conference and while we did these other things, we were always part of a group and we were never on our own. And this whole big new, brand new away from home for more than one night, like that's a big, like that sounds crazy for you to be 18 and that to be your life, or 17 or whatever. Like between 17 to 20 years old, you should have already been out of the house a lot. We weren't allowed to. And now all of a sudden our parents are like, no, you go live in this room with these 5 other people you've never met. And every, you know, weekend you go, I'm not saying and it gets our parents, just like our leadership was saying. And, you know, on the weekends you go into Chicago, doesn't matter how cold it is. You need to be out there for several hours. And anyways, I know that's a whole nother thing, but it's just crazy that we go from being so sheltered to while we're still in a sheltered environment, it's completely different. And that's very scary. I remember definitely opening day being very scary and absolutely crying myself to sleep the first few nights. It's terrible. Oh God, that was awful. But yeah, opening day was a nightmare. And so you were not quickly, but you were quickly accosted by someone to get you onto their bus route, I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah. They were Filipino twins, and they were the sweetest people.
Sure.
I'm still friends with them on Facebook.
That's awesome.
So, but they were seniors, and so they were looking for someone to replace.
Replace them, yeah.
They were very helpful at getting me my room.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
And, hey, do you have anywhere to be on Sunday? And just that. Slip it right in there.
Yeah. Now that I've done all this stuff for you.
Yeah. And I was, just overwhelmed by the whole experience from the get-go. So I'm like, sure, I'll go with you. Why not?
It's all over. That's all she wrote. Did you join that bus route? Is that the bus route you joined? Yeah.
I did, yes. Yep. It was Division 1 when I first got there.
Okay.
And Division 1 was huge because John Francis was over the entire college bus ministry, but he was also Division 1 leader.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Chris Saddlemeyer was my bus captain.
Oh God.
But the meeting itself was so intoxicating. It's just like, wow, this is so much different than my Saturday meetings.
Right? Yeah.
5 or 10 people showing up at the church.
Yeah.
And we would only be out for just a couple hours. Growing up. So that's what I was thinking for Saturday Soning and bus route, but oh no, I was so wrong.
Could have been more wrong.
Just the drive there with the ladies riding the bus, it took almost an hour to get there.
Yeah.
Because we were on kind of the north end of Chicago.
Okay, yeah. That's right.
But yeah, it was fun. It was exciting, and then just they knew how to make your heartstrings just.
Oh yeah.
It was that emotion. It was that, man, I need to be here. This is awesome. I'm a part of something big.
Yep.
And so I gave it the whole weekend. I was there Saturday. I was there Sunday. And by Sunday, I was like, yep, this is it. Where I belong. Yeah.
It's such a scam.
Oh my goodness.
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember that well how Charles Osgood was my bus captain. I don't remember how exactly what he did, but like Charles had that kind of he had a quality about him that was very he was very stoic. He didn't talk a lot. He was very reserved, but like he made you, and I'm not saying probably all the bus captains were like this. I don't know. Everyone was a carbon copy of John Francis or Ricky Torres or someone. And I don't not like Charles, but he was such an oxymoron. Like he did such a great job at times of making you feel like, man, I was going through an old box the other day when I was watching Jack Scott's sermons, and that's what actually got me there. And I was going through an old box, and I found notes from Charles, and they were handwritten, just like Ray Young told him to. They were handwritten, and they were very kind and like, hey, I really appreciate. And this is the same guy that every Sunday night would stand up on night bus and yell my name in front of all these other comrades of mine in the ministry and tell me what a sorry sack of crap I was because I didn't bring. And I was terrible at the bus ministry. I didn't bring visitors. I could get souls saved because that's a lie. Like 1, 2, 3, pray with me. Like, yeah, that's easy. Yeah. That's so easy. Like, and I know I don't know if I laugh about it, but not everyone's going to laugh with me. And that's okay. But like bringing new people, I didn't do it. I tried so hard. But I wasn't good at it. I wasn't good. So I would get ripped consistently for not performing. But then I get a letter the next day or later on that week about his appreciation for me being there during the big day. And I'm like, well, but you hated me last night. I don't understand. So anyways, but I do remember him being very very helpful, very kind, helping me get involved with the bus ministry. But I was with him for about 3 years. And it's funny talking about Hyles-Anderson because we didn't live that far away. We lived growing up, not in Missouri, but growing up, we lived about an hour and a half away. So we would go for like every little conference, not just pastor school. Like we would go for little missions conferences, little things that Hyles-Anderson was doing. Like we would go do all those things. And We even took a tour like right before, even though we didn't live close, we took part of our summer vacation. The year that I graduated high school was me getting to go and walk around and talk to everyone. And because we had the end with the Cowlings at the time, and that's a whole other story, you know, we were very close. That was when I had a meeting with Phil Sally the summer before I even got there, and he promised me a job at UPS. He had UPS on the phone, and they were telling me how great the job was.
That's
Swear to
good
God.
too.
Swear to God. And then I got there, and he basically was, you know, go screw yourself, like go to America. I tried to meet with him, couldn't get a meeting with the guy, and when I finally did, he didn't care. I think the deal with UPS was you had to be an upperclassman or something to get in there at the time when I got there. So I don't know, so weird. But anyways, I'm getting off on other subjects. But the bus ministry, I do remember Charles getting me there. You know, that was the first person that was really able to get to me, was the one that got me. But that's what I was gonna say. We had associations because my dad was actually a division leader, I think for 4 when he was there. So some people knew that, and they gave me a lot of crap because I didn't go to the division. My dad was a division leader. I think Jason Arnold was 4 or 2. I think whatever division it was, Jason Arnold was. And I count Jason as a friend. I think he's a pretty level-headed guy. I worked with him at NCS my senior year and beyond. And but he would give me crap. And then who is that? Mike Griswold? Does that ring a bell?
That does ring a bell, yeah.
Mike was always joking. Like Mike never meant, like, because Mike was, I think, division, I don't know what, but he was more like an A route, and he would always say, "Hey, sir, join my bus route, join my bus." Like every time he saw me, he would tell me to join his bus route. And it was an ongoing joke. Like it wouldn't matter what was going on or where I saw him. The 2 catchphrase guys that I remember, and they're more than catchphrase guys, and I'm really close with John Keister now, but it was Mike Griswold, join my bus route, and John Keister, have you gotten your Divine Intimacy kit yet? Those are my 2 favorite punchlines that I remember from Hyles-Anderson. Anyways, no, it wasn't the Divine Intimacy kit. It was Pastor School is right around the corner. And he would tell you that in like April, right after Pastor School was over. John Keister would start telling people, "Hey, Pastor School is right around the corner." Like, dude, it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it's right around the corner. But that just speaks to how crazy that time would be when Pastor School would come to town, so to speak. It's just nuts. So it's like they shut down the college for a week to get ready, and then the week of Pastor School it was shut down again. There was no school, right? There wasn't classes.
After Pastor School finished was our spring break.
Oh, right, yeah. So it was like 3 weeks of no classes. A lot of people messing around, getting away with stuff. Good for them. All right, I'm all over the place. Bus routes, bus ministry, they get you right away. They are very sneaky. I keep coming back to this point and derailing myself. I was supposed to go to Division 8 because my parents were very close with the Moore family, with Daryl Moore. And I believe he had run Division 8 for a long time. And then it split into 9 and 14. I don't know. It was something weird. But I ended up in Division 14, A-11. But I remember being in Division 14 until I went on tour. And I quit my bus route because that's what everyone does except Robert Lopez. So. All the love in the world, Robert.
I quit beforehand.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah.
Well, then you didn't get as much blowback because you weren't quitting your bus route because of tour.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I gave the bus route and the Chicago ministry a good 2 years. And it wasn't just
that's a lot of your life.
I calculated like how much time I actually spent in Chicago or away from the college during the weekend. It was like 24 hours.
I believe it.
Because
you're there, especially if you're in, like, it depends on who you end up with too, if that makes sense, like the division you're in, because some people, they didn't care that much, wasn't that big a deal, but most bus captains, most division leaders, there's a lot of pressure to be out there all day. And I mean, I remember being there, like for the ladies, I think, I'm not trying to be like, oh, you guys had it easy, because nothing about it was easy. It was always easier for the guys. But I feel like there was some kind of I don't know if it was a curfew, but the ladies kind of had to be back a little bit earlier, I think.
Well, we had a bus that we had to catch.
Right, that's what it was. Okay, yeah. You don't want to miss that bus. You're stuck in Chicago. No one's coming back for you, and your male workers can't drive you back either.
Exactly, yeah.
What is that? You're going to Uber before you're going to take a taxi cab for $200 to Crown Point? But yeah, I remember, but we would be, and again, I'm not trying to say, oh, you guys had it easy, because no one had it easy. But especially the ladies, that it just doesn't make sense to drop you guys off without any guns. If you had guns, it would make more sense. But without any guns, in not good parts of Chicago for all day.
Exactly.
I will never understand that.
I was scared to go there. You know, sometimes, I mean.
What's so weird is I was never, and I'm not saying like it's a gender thing. I'm just saying I was never scared, and I should have been scared to death. I should have been so scared. I was doing a money drive. I wasn't selling anything because we sell, City Baptist candy bars for the kids. I was just standing in the middle of traffic with a plastic bag asking people for money, and absolute literal legitimate gang members walked up to me and were like, hey, like, because this is their area, I'm taking money from their people. They're like, hey, what are you doing? And once I told them I was with Indiana Church, they gave me money and left me alone.
Oh, wow.
Whatever that was.
Wow. Reputation precedes you.
Right, it did, but that also gave me more confidence that we're here, the Lord protects us. No, man, we just got really lucky. Or Jack Hyles had some kind of running deal that he paid people off a long time ago to leave us alone. I don't know what it was, but it made no sense why there was not so much more violence than there what little there was. And honestly, the majority of the violence was because we brought rival gang members to church on the same bus. That was the majority of the violence that took place.
Yeah. Ridiculous. That was the thing, though. Like, we couldn't bring Black people onto our routes.
You can't. Yeah. Yep.
It was not allowed. And that never made sense to me. I'm like, why are we only going into those areas for big push Sundays, and not even us ladies could go.
Each day. Nope.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, no, but again, that was I'm not saying every IFB is that way. I don't believe that it is, but that's the Midwest. That's the 1950s. That's the Jack Hyles way. They would set up these baptismal. John Bannister tells a story about a baptism bus.
Oh my goodness.
It was a bus. They blacked out the windows. They put a baptistry in the back, and they took it up to the projects and were just running people through.
No way.
You thought dunking kids in horse troughs and basements in Hammond was bad enough. It gets worse. It was terrible. It was atrocious. It was looking back. It was Scott. He would bring up how many lawsuits there were against that was a point of pride.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That's nothing to me. That is the citizens you're supposed to be helping are saying you are a criminal and you're bragging about it. It doesn't get more ridiculous than that. But yeah, he would bring that up often. Very often. And I would see the lawsuits happen. Did you work at Teen Center at all?
No, I did not.
Oh, thank God. That was a circus. They called it the circus. So when I first got there, it was it used to be like a Catholic church that was down the block. That was where it was then.
I went there a couple
really
times
the circus.
to sing or something.
Yeah. Oh my God. That was the stuff I saw there. I didn't see anyone sexually assaulted. I will say that. But I saw everything. Well, no, that's not true. They had an opening assembly, and I'm not going to name names, but if someone wants the name, I will tell them. They had an opening assembly, and it was, they split up the guys and the girls, which is honestly was a good call.
Yeah.
But they would have opening assembly, and the guy that would lead it, he would do, I don't remember what kind of competition this was, but he would bend teenage boys over his knee and spank them. I very clearly in this moment remember that. Yes. Yeah. Just unreal. But again, that was Teen Center. It was a circus. We would do the competition where we would have two guys each eat a banana and then see who could chug a whole 2 liter of Sprite the fastest. You remember, obviously. And you'd always throw up because it's a chemical reaction. Oh, my God. But yeah, Teen Center was, even when they moved to the old Spanish building and it was those 3 stories or whatever, Teen Center was always a circus. And I remember Ricky was the only one, and I'm not saying it was by any good means, but Ricky was the only one that could keep people in line in Teen Center, and it was because he just didn't care. He would say whatever. He would holler. I remember him. I've cursed once in this episode, and I'll take it out, but this is the only other time you'll hear it, and I will bleep it. But he would say the beginning of these lyrics, and I'm gonna get them wrong. But he would say the beginning of these lyrics, and then all the teenagers would say them back because it was a popular, I think, rap lyric. If you don't have no money, take your broke home. He would say, if you don't have no money, and they would all repeat it back to him. I don't know why. I don't know what it was for, but that was a part of his program, just like a bus program. The bus ministry was crazy. So you were in Division I the whole time for 2 years?
No.
Okay.
Shortly after I joined trying to think. It was right around the time that, no, we were still Division I when the ladies bus.
Yeah, talk about that for a moment. I'd forgotten about that. You
I don't remember what month it was, but it was sometime fall
of your freshman year. Okay.
Yes. We were heading home after the long day, I believe, and it took 2 buses to get all of us ladies into Chicago.
Right. Wow, so, that is a big division.
It was huge. But I was in the bus behind, and we came up to the accident. The bus had flipped on its side, and it was terror because you knew people on the bus. You didn't know if they were hurt or not, and it was just a traumatic thing all around. I don't remember how we all got home, if we all rode the same bus or what, but
well, there's tons of buses up there, and not all, because you're a smaller division, like not all of them were full. They could have shoved you guys in different buses.
Yeah. But I mean, it was on the Dan Ryan, so
oh my God,
cars and everywhere, and it was insane. But there was at least one girl who was seriously injured.
Who should have sued.
Yeah, absolutely.
not yelling at her, but yeah.
It took her a while, many surgeries, and I think her major was like secretarial.
Oh no.
And she'd messed up her hands.
Oh.
So yeah,
what a nightmare.
That's bad. But
do you remember what caused the accident? It wasn't bad weather, I wouldn't think.
I don't remember, but it flipped somehow. So anyway, they split the divisions up, and Chris Sotomayor was put in charge of Division 2.
Okay.
So I mean, we were the same area, right side by side. But I literally walk across the street from our bus route and be in Division 1.
Right.
But yeah, he was the division leader from then on, and it was crazy. There was so many bus workers on this route, and our area was.
Give it an approximation. Like what would you say was your number? 20, less than 20, more than 20?
I would say about 20.
20?
About 20 bus workers. And we'd have about the same amount of kids. It was very.
Wait, so hang on. Sorry. Okay. But Chris Sotomayor wasn't your bus captain, right?
No, he was. Yeah, he was.
So you're telling. Hang on. Hold the phone. So you're telling me. And Chris Sotomayor, as far as I know, is out of prison now. That's a whole nother story. We've talked about it. Settlemoir, I think is how you spell it. Just look him up. That'll tell you everything you need to know. Because you type in that first and last name, he's going to pop up. But he was only running 20 kids?
Pretty much, yeah.
So I'm not going to curse anymore on this podcast, but I really want to right now because that guy was put up as like such a big deal. And such a great, like, whatever he was. You're only bringing 20 kids?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
It would fluctuate from week to week, but for the majority of
big days.
Than big days. Yeah, big days we would pack it out. But and it was probably more workers. Like, we would double up our routes all the time because we didn't have enough people.
We did too. So that makes me so mad. Like, in retrospect, not for a good reason, because who cares anymore? But, like, we would double up. I remember that, and our route probably did better than Chris Settlemeyer's route. Screw that guy.
Oh my God. Oh man, but crazy. we would make it up in hours spent in Chicago.
Oh, I'm not calling anyone lazy. I just say that guy was something else. Sheesh.
Oh man, but no, like.
So you were in Division 2.
Yeah, and he was very much a dictator. I had kind of gotten fed up with, spending hours and hours on the bus route and not really feeling like I was making a difference. That was the problem.
No, not with that level of workers. Like, there's no way. Seeing the same kids every Saturday.
Exactly. And the thing was, you would kind of have to time it. Okay, I'm going to spend an hour at this person's house and then try and catch this next person while they're eating so we can eat with them, or it may be freezing out, just close to zero, but not zero yet. And
still freezing. Once you get below 32 and you have the Chicago wind chill, doesn't matter if it's zero, you're done.
Absolutely. But time it to where you go to somebody's house and then go into the local coffee shop and warm up the next hour. because going door to door at home was different. You'd knock on a door and actually knock on the door.
Right.
And in
And
Chicago,
you wouldn't go for hours and hours. You would go for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And if it was too cold, your pastor would be like, don't go today.
Yeah, he was smart.
Not Hyles-Anderson.
Oh man. The apartments, though, I hated those. I hated. You would press buttons to be able to get someone to unlock the door. And, oh my word, I just felt like I was violating people's trust.
Yeah, you were. You know? I'm not trying to be unkind to you because I did the same thing. I was. But you were. Like, you were just trying to get your foot in the door, literally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just so that you could write it down on a sheet of paper. Saying, hey, I went talked to 2 people and gave the plan of salvation to 2. Oh, that
was the minute, wasn't it? 2 is all 2.
It was a minimum
of 2 hours, 2 people. Was it 2 hours or no? I feel like it was 2 hours.
Remember if there was a time limit? Because I mean, people that had the soul winning club as their ministry, they would go for like an hour.
Yeah, they didn't
on
care.
Saturdays. I totally did that for a while. Yep.
But that was all the A ministries. The A ministries didn't care. Like they had the C ministries with all the pressure on them to bring in all the craziness, and the A ministries were just like, we're done. We went for 20 minutes and that's it. But honestly, towards the end for me, like that activity report was a joke. Like I just wrote whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
I just made sure the numbers weren't crazy. So like Borscht wasn't going to be like, oh, you said you talked to 100 people. Like, oh no. So yeah. But yeah, I feel you on Chicago and the how cold it was and just trying to time everything just right. Again, the guys got it way better than the girls. Like we had a car. You know, I could hop in my bus captain's car. It was warm. Actually, it wasn't. Charles didn't have a car. Josh Griffin had a car. He had a nice little the Grand Prix. I don't know. I can't remember if the Grand Am or the Grand Prix, but whichever one is smaller, that's what Josh had.
Okay.
And when Charles wasn't in it, we would listen to Greater Vision. When he was in it, we wouldn't listen to Greater Vision.
Wicked.
And I know, so sinful. But yeah, we had a car and we had our regular stops. But Charles was a workhorse. Like he would keep us out beating the streets. But like once I got in my rhythm and met my Ricky and Natalie and Mario and Eddie, once I had my regular kids that I knew I could hang out at their house and not get in trouble because they wouldn't tattle on me, like we would have to go play Xbox, we'd have pizza. I had good times with those guys. Me and Ricky watched so many bootleg movies. Yeah, like all the time. Like that was great. That was fun. Especially when it got like cold, yes, but also when it got hot. Like when we first got there, when we were leaving, not so much when we were leaving, but when we first got there, it was so hot. Like being able to sit in Ricky's AC or at least have the have the fan blowing on me was nice.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was a crapshoot. Chicago was a crapshoot.
Oh man, I hated the big days.
They were a nightmare. I remember Charles. I was thinking about this earlier when we were talking. I remember Charles having me. I don't know. I know he would call off work one day during the week, during a big day, but he had like a regular actual job, you know, because he was there for the summer. And I think he was at, I don't know, it was a trucking job. It was all trucking. But like, anyways, he would call off and then he would pressure me to call off too. And I'm like, dude, I work at AmeriCall. I'm on like my 3rd written. I'm not going to have a job if I call off, you know? So, it was ironic, but yeah, I remember big days we would have much longer Saturdays and so much more pressure. And then you would do, remember the Sunday afternoon, you would have to go whatever you promoted, like pony rides, or I remember one year, what were we doing? We were standing on top of buses throwing candy at people, like just bizarre.
I remember that one.
Oh yes, we were doing that. Just ridiculous. But it was division specific, so you guys did whatever you did. But like, did you have any like Sunday events? Say again, a Carnival Sunday?
Yeah. Well, one was going to some arcade.
Yes, I remember that. Was it the one? There was one up in Chicago that had like go-karts. That's. I think everyone went to the same one. I don't know if it was the same time, but we all kind of used the same spot.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because they were probably like real lax on insurance or something, and that's why we went. You know, we knew the spot. I'm sure that's what it was.
Yeah. But yeah, I got fed up with, you know, just the hypocrisy of all of that. Just, you know.
Well, and you were saying like there's so many. You got to the point where you just realized there's just so many of us. Like there's one per kid.
Yeah, I wanted to make a difference, and that's why I joined the bus route to make a difference. And I didn't really see much of a difference in Chicago routes. there was many things that kind of made me think, okay, maybe I'm in the wrong place. Let me rethink this. One was Chris Settlemeyer was dating a girl from our bus route.
And I was gonna say something about that because I have heard. Do you mind if you remember? Excuse me. Any names of anyone that was on your bus route? Your workers? Do you remember anyone?
Jackie,
you don't have to share names if you don't. Because I remember talking.
Leia.
Okay.
Can't think of their last name.
I remember, I think it was a dude that I've talked to, a friend of mine on Facebook, talking about just how weird, I mean, he was a weird dude. Like, that's just, and he had a lot of swagger for sure.
Jay Rosario.
Who? Jay Rosario? Okay, the name rings a bell. I don't recognize, probably a face with it might help. But, like, I remember talking to someone, them saying, like, he was just spending incredible amounts of time at the same house or whatever it was. So, but he was actually dating someone on the bus route.
Well, he was dating a lady worker.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay.
And that was prohibited.
Were they engaged?
No.
Yeah, that's 100% against the rules.
Yeah.
Probably was probably part of the split up when they went from, like, he became division leader or something, and that might be how he got away with it. Or he was just chill with John Francis. Who knows?
I think they were just kind of doing it, hiding the relationship.
On the DL, I got you.
Everybody. Yeah. So yeah, that was part of it. And then, just being one of,
so many
20 workers with 20 kids, I'm like,
That's
you know what, I'm done. And I remember going up to Chris and saying, you all don't need me. I don't feel needed. You don't need me. I'm going to go find something that works better for me. And he just got in my face and he was like, this is God's will for your life. You're leaving God's will, and this is where you're supposed to be. And I'm like, yeah, you don't know God's will for my life. You're not me. See ya.
Wow.
And I never came back.
Good.
Kind of ministry hopped for a while. And finally landed in the chapels.
Nice. And what was that experience like in the chapel ministry?
Chapel ministry was
more traditional,
different. Yeah. It really depended on who the chapel pastor was.
Sure.
Danny Brannon. And he was super cool.
I feel like I remember that name. Do you have thick black hair that was slicked back?
Yes.
Yeah, I know who that is. Yeah, Danny was chill. He was on fire for God, as we say, but he was a chill guy. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
So, it was the whole show. We would do nursery. They ran a bus ministry, and
this is a traditional type of ministry.
Yeah, absolutely. We had, our own altar call with baptisms and all of that. I mean, it was, if you wanted the church experience,
it was there for
that
you.
was the place to go. So, I very much enjoyed that. And that was my senior year. And at that point, I was just done. I'm like, this is a joke. I want to get out of here. So yeah, I kind of skated by with that last year. But
and I think a lot of us did. Like, we got to the point where, it was a, I don't know. I shouldn't say a lot of us did. I know I did and you did. But, like, I think so many people, like, I don't know if it was this way for you, but it was this way for me. Once I hit sophomore year, that wasn't necessarily the year when I was like, screw all of this. Like, it's, I'm going to be a hypocrite. I don't care anymore. But it was the year where I was like, that was the doldrums for me. Like, my sophomore year was like, it was awful. And people would tell you that. People that had graduated, people would tell you that from the pulpit. They would say, hey, your sophomore year is going to suck. And you'd be like, why? I'm a freshman. Why would you tell me that?
Mm-hmm.
But it was so true. Sophomore year was awful. I hated it. I just felt like I was suffocating all the time. Like I was never going to get out of there.
Everything about sophomore year, from classes to dating to, everything about sophomore year was horrible. So, if you made it through that year, you felt like, all right, I can finish this. I'm gonna
be alive.
Yeah.
And I think that's because sophomore year is when you realize, not when you realize the hypocrisy, but when you realize, like, hey, you get a closer look at upperclassmen, and you're like, they are getting away with all kinds of stuff. Should I stay committed? Should I be this good? I was really torn with that, because I was really sold out to my bus route and I wanted to be a good Christian. But then I was like, but these guys, they don't care. These upperclassmen do not care. And they didn't, and I don't blame them. And then by the time I got there, by the time I was a senior, like they put me. So I tried to set up my room my senior year. My sophomore year, or what year was it? No, my junior year. And me and Mike LeBugan have recently reconnected. I think Mike is a good person. I really do. We had our outs, though, because he was not only my dorm soup, he was also my division leader. And so it was kind of a perfect storm. In fact, a super funny story for me. I'll be quick, but no, I won't. Who am I kidding? A super funny story for me was I remember one Saturday, and I think this was junior year, maybe sophomore, I think junior. I remember me and him and John Warden, for some reason, John was he was the section leader right next to me, so we were always hanging out, but we were all going to Chicago together for some reason. And then we went to what's the place, Round the Clock, on our way up. We all sat down, me and John and Mike sat down for breakfast or whatever, and we were eating, and I'm sure Mike paid for it. I didn't have any money. And he asked to see my phone. Well, there's all kinds of stuff on my phone, texts, and I don't know if I was engaged, but I was surely dating the girl who I would marry at that time. So all kinds of terrifically, not even, honestly, if I look back now, like those text messages were vanilla, but like then, really bad stuff. So that was on there. And of course I had some Green Day and some Legacy 5, the typical, rebellious IFB kid music. Yeah. So I had to hand him my phone, though. I'm handing my dorm suit my phone, and I was like, that's it. I'm getting, like, I handed it to him, and I'm like, that's it. And John knew. John looked at me like, oh, bro. Like, and I handed it to him, and he looked through it, didn't say a word, looked through it, and handed it back to me. We drove all the way up to Chicago. He didn't say a word. John just kept looking at me like, oh.
That must have been the most nerve-wracking ride.
I was so dead. And then nothing. And I thought, okay, Monday morning I'm going to get hit with it because we got to do ministry. He's my division leader. Monday's going to be nothing. Nothing ever happened. Mike hits me up, I don't know, probably a year ago now on Facebook, and is like, hey, man, and just a beautiful message, empathetic, like just, and I'm not trying to out him by saying this because I think I've said on other episodes, like just super nice. And like, hey, I was not the nicest person in college. I know we had, our times, and I'm just reaching out to say, hey, my bad. And I hope that, I can, and I was like, oh my God, like that is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. For my division leader. Okay. And my dorm suit, or no, my dorm suit, it wasn't dorm suit. He was over the whole dorm, all of them alone. And so we talked back and forth a little bit, and I was like, okay, bro, I have to ask you this. I was like, I have to know, what the heck were you doing with my phone? You killed me. And he sent me a message back. I think we were doing voice memos, and he laughed. What was great was I was with John. John lives not far from me. We were both hanging out. Okay. And so we're texting our old division leader. And I'm like, hey, John says hi. Oh, hi, John. And so I said, why were you looking at my phone? He's like, honestly, I definitely don't remember that day. I don't remember doing that. But I would take college kids' phones all the time. And here's why. I wanted to see, I didn't have a good phone. You guys all had better phones than me. I wanted to see what cool new games were out there. That's all I was looking at. I was like, I could kill you right now. I was so mad. And I'm like, not now, but like then, I'm like, that's all you were after? You made me think I was going to get, expelled, I was going to lose my fiance. Like, no, okay. I just want to see if you had the newest version of whatever game was
Oh my goodness.
You went from bus ministry to chapels. And then maybe just, I don't know for how long, however long you have or want to talk about it, but what was, when did you go on tour? Did you go on tour? Which years did you go? In between junior and senior? Sophomore?
It was in between junior and senior.
Okay, me too.
And funny thing, I started, I wanted to try out, at the very beginning, as soon as I could, but you couldn't if you were a freshman, right?
Really? I don't remember that.
Oh,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I just don't remember.
They changed those rules, depending on what your last name was.
Well, Mike Douglas, that was a big problem the year that I went. And I got nothing against Mike. I mean, his dad's the president of the college, so I'm not going to go there. But now he is. But like, I remember he was like a last minute addition. I think he replaced someone who got booted or something.
Oh, okay.
But like, people were pissed because we knew why he got it, because his last name was Douglas with two S's. Yeah. That's why you got it.
Yeah. So, I do believe there was a high schooler that was coming into college who got to travel on tour.
HB though.
Yep.
Yeah, it's always HB.
Absolutely.
They get what they want. I love them, but Jordan Flesher, Josh Owens, like,
Yeah.
Well, I love Josh. I'm not saying I don't love Jordan, but let me rephrase it. I love Josh. Jordan is I don't have anything against Jordan.
Yes. They both have awesome voices.
Oh, too, terrific. But, absolutely.
So, I mean, legitimately, they deserve those positions.
Yeah, HB had a great music program. Like, they're really focused on, for the guys, it was music and basketball and a little bit of soccer. Like, that was the thing. Yeah. Sorry, I got you way off subject, as I do.
No, so sophomore year, it sucked to begin with. So I thought, I'll try out for tour, right? What could go wrong? And I played the piano.
That's just funny. What could go wrong? Hey, this is perfect.
I played the piano, and because I was a no-name
competition,
person,
though. Yeah.
I didn't come from a big church. I wasn't a pastor's kid. Mm-hmm. I really had to get in with the right people.
Yeah, you got all kinds of strikes against you.
Oh, yeah. I tried to get in with, all of the music people as much as possible, get my name out there, let them know. And so, I started playing for some of the tour tryouts, and Miss Gaona, man, she would just constantly, can you replay this? And they'd be singing the same stinking song. I hate that song. I can't even think of the name of it, but it was awful.
I wish you could. That's hilarious.
But yeah, I had nightmares about that,
I believe it. You and Manny Robles, when I was going, Manny was the guy that had to sit there and play for I never even thought about that, but it makes perfect sense. That would get so old. Yeah, but you weren't even on tour and you were playing for tryouts? That's kind of ridiculous.
Well, no, I was trying out for tour.
Okay, so you were – I got you.
Yeah, trying out for the piano parts because, I was a big fish back in my home church. I was Tory and, for congregational and for specials and whatnot. And then you go to college and you realize
you are no one.
I don't really know what you're talking about. So, I mean, for the guys, it was more like, okay, there's 3 guys that play the piano. It doesn't matter.
Guys, that's what I was saying when you first said about piano. I'm like, that's not a big deal for a guy. You can get in. And like, once you got it, like, I don't know how many years, but our pianist Terrence went for several years because a guy that plays a pianist for them is rare.
Robert Lopez went on for several years.
Like 20 years. I love you, Robert. I love Robert so much. But like, yeah, Robert always went. From him. Oh, did you really? No way.
For 1 semester, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. You're lucky. Just
saying. So anyway, I would play for all of the tryouts, and I kept getting those flips, come back to the next one. I'm like, yay, next round is through. This is definite. I'm gonna make it.
My year, yeah.
So I would get down to like the last cut, and they cut me, and I was devastated.
That's a lot of work too, especially as a pianist, because you're not just trying out one time. Yeah. You're playing over and over. Like me, like it was 1, maybe 2 tries, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, finishing that year and then heading into junior year, I'm like, I'm not going to try.
Yeah,
I don't want that rejection again. I just don't need that, And my parents were like, it's, if you make it on tour, it's tuition, was it tuition or room and board? Tuition was paid for.
I think it was tuition because when I came back, I went to scholarship to pay the other half, and I thought the other half was room and board.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, tuition was paid for.
Which was a joke. Scholarship's a joke, but it was like $3 an hour. Are you kidding me? Oh my God.
Oh man.
Sorry, go ahead. So your parents are saying, hey, it would really be great if you would try out and make it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was like, fine, okay, I'll try out. And so I did it for them. I had no reason to do it for myself, and didn't really think that I would make it just because, trying not to set myself up.
Right, yeah, you don't want that again.
But I made it. I made the list, made the cut.
Yeah.
But, it changed my status as a person in college.
Yes,
I went from being behind the camera, because
you're a performer.
But you have to always have a camera.
Yeah.
To being
you're right. From literally behind the camera. Yeah. You're right.
To actually being up on stage and having to sing, and your name is on, CDs, and you've got your picture on hundreds of different.
You're kind of a big deal. Yeah. So when you made it, you didn't make it as a pianist. You made it as a vocalist.
I started out as a vocalist. Yeah, Hannah Goddard was our pianist. And she's amazing on the piano, but she doesn't read music as well. I didn't really either. I play more by ear.
Yeah.
But I could read music.
I think a lot of, if I'm being honest, like my sister was the same. Like I think a lot of girls that grew up in those kind of, I'm not saying she's the same now. My sister's genius with music now, and she was always had a knack for it. But I think you kind of pick up that art of doing it by ear just because, I don't know for exactly what reason, but I think that's a pretty common denominator. And Hannah had didn't she sing a part really well or no? If I could be getting that wrong.
She has an amazing voice as well.
Yeah.
So we were able to switch, and I played the piano.
Nice. Was that during training or was that on tour?
It was during training.
Okay.
Mrs. Fletcher, Denise Fletcher, was our tour.
Oh, yeah.
She was amazing. Oh, my goodness. But I was lucky. The group that I had,
that's awesome.
Everybody really understood music well. We meshed well.
That's dope.
The harmony worked.
Yeah.
And, being thrown a new song, we could pick it up pretty easy.
That's not easy.
No, it's not.
It's not. Jordan did it to us like twice on tour. And the problem that we had, sorry, now I'm just going to jump into my story.
No, you're fine.
The problem that we had, and I don't want to say a bunch of bad things about him because I don't know who he is now. I haven't talked to our tenor, I'll say, in a long time. But our tenor wasn't a tenor. Our tenor had a high register. He didn't know the part. And so Jordan would be like, okay, we're going to learn this new Gaither vocal band song, whatever. Like, okay, cool. And then we'd sing it, and then our tenor would be all over the place. Like, dude, we need you to listen to David Phelps here and get this down. Oh, I don't know. He wouldn't sound like that. But like he couldn't get it. And anytime we would sing Happy Birthday, and because I did not like that gimmick part of what did you ever have the people that wanted you to sing for your food? Did you ever have that?
Yeah, we would sing.
Well, he probably.
We would sing our prayer.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Pete Callan came to our church every summer with the tour. It was always Pete because we were in the Midwest, and I think he toured the Midwest pretty consistently.
He got the run of things. He would get for sick, wherever he wanted to go that year.
Yep. No, he's been doing it the longest. Look at him. No one's as old as he is that's going out on tour. But I do remember that. I don't remember that. I wish I could remember the song, but I do remember. You don't want to remember it, do you? No, I remember it.
I don't remember it.
You don't remember it?
I don't know.
I'm gonna figure it out. Not right now. Not live here. But I do remember that because they would come. We would see them Pete's tour group. He would always every girls group he had. They would always sing that song, and we would see them every summer. So yeah, I do remember that you guys would have a song.
Yeah, try doing that in a restaurant, and it would just go dead silent.
It's so dumb, man.
Oh, and of course,
I'm not yelling at you. You all dressed the same.
Same. Like that wasn't enough to stick out. Then we had to sing our prayer. Yeah, there was a few times where we had like an impromptu singing session in the middle of a restaurant because everybody's staring at us.
Yeah, now we got to go. It's go time. We would have. So I'm remembering this now. So like Pete's thing was like, y'all are just gonna sing all the time. It is wherever we go, you're gonna sing. If I'm getting that right, don't let me. I'm not trying to step over your narrative. But I remember that. But we would every once in a while have people that would be like, okay, we're here at the restaurant, and now you're going to sing. And I'd be like, we are. Like, I'm here to eat. We were at some place in Texas, best ribs I ever had. We were at the Stockyards.
Oh, yeah.
And we were there with Scott Gray, and he wasn't the one that made us sing, but like the local pastor was like, oh, Randy Engelman, is that the name? I don't know. Anyways, but he was like, y'all gonna sing? And we're like, and we were very entitled. Like I have nothing for the most part but love for the guys that I went on tour with, but we were Scott Gray. I was just talking to his son. Me and Scotty were talking like a week ago.
Aww.
It's good people. I like them. And me and Scotty were talking, and I said, you know what was ironic? And this I don't know if I told you this, but this will strike you as funny if I haven't told you. If I have, you're like, yeah, dude, you already said that. Just keep talking. But I remember so Scott Gray, that was our tour pastor. His dad is like Mr. Soul Winning.
Mm-hmm.
We went soul winning twice. All summer, we went twice. And I think I'm remembering, I think I already did tell you this, but like, that was it. And I remember the first time we did it, we were like halfway in a tour. I don't know, someone got under Scott's skin, or like, Anthony Collins was making trouble for us. I don't know what it was.
Probably.
Most likely that's what it was. you guys don't have anyone saved? Like, sure we do. We had like 300, make up some numbers. But I remember I was watching, I know I told Scotty this the other day. I was watching Talladega Nights on Nick's PSP in the Sprinter, and I'm sitting there, and
you had a PSP with you on tour?
Yeah, Nick brought his PSP.
No!
We did all kinds of stuff.
My God!
We had 1 week where Scott had to be away for something, and Ken Scott was our tour pastor. That was the week. We went to a go-kart place. It was on the college. We went to the hotels we stayed in. I was like, we never get to stay in these guys. We ate whatever. And I remember us going to, I don't know what, it was probably not that great, but like Red Lobster or something. And I was like, oh. We went to the restaurant, and I was like, oh my God. And then when we sat down to order, and we were like, hey, what? Ken was like, whatever you just order, whatever you want, I don't care. And we were like, oh my God, this is the best thing
It's
ever.
over $5. Oh my word.
Right. It's the end of the world. It's off the value menu. But no, I was in the bus, and I had my headphones in, Nick's headphones in. I'm watching. I remember being, and you're not going to like this, but I remember literally being like perturbed, like they were, hey, Scott's saying something, like, okay, so, we're going to stop here. And I'm like, soul winning? What? Are you kidding me? Like, that was the whole, and that was the consensus. Everyone in the Sprinter was like, we're going to do what now? But then looking back, retrospect, like we were with like Bob Gray's son, and we weren't ever going soul winning. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. But you have the opposite experience. Right? Like, you guys went all the time, didn't you?
Yeah, he should have been Dr. Gray's
right.
son. No, it was our thing. Like, we were gonna win the most people to the Lord.
Numbers,
it was a competition. And I remember rounding out the end of the summer, it was near, if not over 800.
Whoa.
All of us. There was 7 of us girls, and then Dr. and Mrs. Cowan.
Yeah.
But yeah, every stop, gas station, that poor gas station attendant, whoever it may be, was going to get saved.
Yeah, you're getting saved.
Every single person that we
my God.
saw, he would want us to get out and get exercise.
Yes.
When we stopped.
Yeah.
I was the one in charge of cleaning the van, so I'd be wiping down the windows and whatnot. So I got
we really should have had someone in charge of cleaning our Sprinter. Bunch of college guys, and we was all boys. Poor Miss Jenny, because Scott had 3 sons. Steve-O, Phil, Bill, and Scotty, and like, not Phil, Bill, Phil is he probably wouldn't like that. He's an adult. That's crazy. Steve is almost 2, but like, I'm not almost 2. He's almost adult also. But like, yeah, it was all dudes, and she was great. She was so gracious and kind. Yeah. And I remember I had a fiance at the time. Were we engaged? Yeah, I had a fiance. I remember getting in, his summer tour, and things were dicey, and I wasn't seeing her, and Adam Rujo was flirting with her, so that made things awkward. And I remember like venting to Miss Jenny one day, just being and she just took it all in and listened to it, and just, had a good heart to heart. But yeah, just, we should have had someone cleaning the van. Because basically, if I remember right, I could be remembering this incorrectly, but I don't think any of my tour guys are going to watch this, so it's correct. But I feel like it would get to the point where, like, it was so bad that Scott would be like, what is this mess? Like, you guys clean this up.
Oh, man.
It was bad.
No. That was the thing. Like, Dr. Cowling had this system down because he'd been doing it for years and years. And so,
like 100 years.
Yeah. When we all came in, some of us were brand new, like me.
Sure.
But there were others that, had been on tour before.
They knew the routine.
And so he laid it out. All of us had a job to do. One of the girls, Jessica Finley, she had the correspondence, all the thank yous we had to gather up, and she would send it. Oh yeah, we had our little name tablets that we were supposed to write a thank you to the pastor, and
no, not for us. Never.
I helped make those tablets. That was something the yearbook did.
So so every tour group got those?
Oh yeah, with your name on it and everything. You got to pick out what if you wanted.
I don't remember that. Maybe someone was doing that, but I don't remember ever seeing those things.
Now you went.
I got lucky.
Senior year, didn't you?
Yeah. I went summer of 07, but it was Scott's. I don't know if it was Scott's. It was Scott's first year on staff, and so I think
he started that Sunday school class for the students, for the college students.
Oh, did he?
Didn't he?
I don't remember that. I don't remember. I was Yeah, I don't remember. Because I was still teen center then.
True.
And then after that, I don't know what I did after, because I was on Stuart Mason's route, so I just kind of didn't remember. Yeah, that was really chill. Not Stuart himself. I'm not a fan of the guy, but this Stuart I'm a fan of. The other one, who also spells it right, I'm not a fan of him either. But no, I think because he was Scott Gray and he had the pedigree, he had the last name, he could get away with some stuff, and it was his first year. So I think probably after that things were more, regimented. But that year, no, man, he just did whatever.
Y'all had
and we never matched.
Lives.
He hated us matching. He would be like, "Don't, what is that?" Like, we got in trouble because we saw. I think Ray saw us somewhere, out and about, and we weren't matching, and Scott got talked to because unless we had to match, he did not want us to match, ever. He was like, "No, man, that's dumb. Like, don't match." Yeah, no, he didn't like that at all.
All the trouble to get matching suits for you guys. And...
Well, okay, look, we would match when we were at the churches, yes. But like when we were on the road, no.
Yeah. Oh man. No, we would be able to wear our own clothes when we were away from the groups.
Yeah.
If we were with the people we were staying the night with,
Gotcha.
they would take us somewhere. We could wear whatever. But yeah, anytime it was a group, we had to wear matching.
What was that like? Do you have any horror stories or anything you can remember? If it's okay if you don't. But like bad food, or just like you stayed somewhere and you're like, why? Yeah, you got one.
There were a couple.
I'm sure. Especially because Pete and Frida don't like. If you know the podcast well, and if you know me and my family have our own qualms with them, and they are very legitimate, and that's a long story. But like Pete and Frida don't care about the tour members that are going with them. In my opinion, it was more like about the numbers, about keeping the budget down, so like where you're going to stay. I don't think that's Pete and Frida. They don't really care about that. It's more like this is where you're staying kind of thing. That's what it would seem to me to be like.
I think it was up to the individual churches, because a lot of times, we would be put up in homes.
Right.
And that was scary sometimes, but
it was rarely good in my experience. It was to the point where like we found that it was going to be a hotel. We're like, all right, that's great. Even if it's a crap hotel, we're like, great, it's a hotel. I don't care if it's a 6. At least it's a hotel. At least it's not someone's basement again.
There's air conditioning, 2 beds, and there's a TV.
Oh my God! Yes, thank God.
Oh. But no, it really depended on the church and how much they would fork out for us. So, your bigger named churches would put us up in hotels.
Sometimes that was what was weird to me. It wasn't always like, I remember going to I don't remember the church, but it was a nice church. Like, it was nice. And they had a good crowd. And we stayed in the parking lot in a camper trailer. All of us. The whole, not the Grays, the whole tour group crammed into a freaking camper trailer.
Goodness.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm not still salty about that, clearly. But, sorry, I keep interrupting. I want to hear your horror stories, please.
Okay. I was in charge of who would go where.
That was a terrible job. People didn't like you for that.
I had to clean keep the van clean, and I also had to give everybody assigned seats because there was 7 of us. There was only 6 seats in the van, and so one of us, How
did that work then?
One of us would sit on a cooler. One of us would sit on a cooler for the entire day. So we kind of rotated. I had a whole system.
That's awful. Did you have like a cushion for the top of the cooler?
Well, I don't remember exactly. There was so much stuff packed into that.
I'm sure.
That, pillows
Did you guys...
or whatnot.
Something was there for cushion.
It wasn't that bad.
No, that's that bad, but go ahead.
So anyway.
You're riding on a cooler.
Yeah, it was totally not safe, no people or anything.
No.
Yeah, our safety was not a concern.
Oh, no, they don't care. Did you have a van or a Sprinter?
It was a Sprinter.
Okay, gotcha.
And the whole back of it was
it was storage.
Kind of like our closet. It would hold all of our tour clothes.
You could hang your clothes.
And anytime there was a big bump, all of the clothes would fall down.
Yes, I forgot about that. Yes.
But anyway, so whatever row you were in, that was who you were going to bunk with for the night. And me and Joyce Garcia, she she was always the one that Doc would be like, oh, this girl, she's got an amazing testimony, and she put herself through, I'm a Baptist, and then put herself through college, and got her siblings to go through, and
I remember hearing that story. Yeah,
you know, very exploited as far as her story. Just about every night that she had to tell it. But
well, sorry, here I go again. I had Mary Schloss on, and do you know Mary from college at all?
Oh yeah. Yep,
okay, but she told me, and you may already know this, I don't know, but she told me, because she traveled with the Callings, and she told me that they tried to pump up her story.
Oh.
She would tell her, and she doesn't have like this crazy rags, although she is doing very well now. She works for the Marine Corps in recruitment, and just finished, not just a couple of years ago, finished training down in San Diego. But they would like come to her and be like, but didn't your dad do this to you? And didn't they would try to like make her story, they would try to falsify her story.
Wow.
Like talk her into, I'm not saying that's the case with Joyce. I know she has a very interesting story, but like they would try to pump her story. They would come to her consistently and be like, yeah, but wasn't there a little abuse? And she's like, no. Like, why are you trying to talk me into something that didn't happen? Just for just to make the story more interesting. Are you kidding me?
That doesn't surprise me. That it was all about the emotion. We wanted people to
sign up
to college. Yes.
Sorry, I keep interrupting. So Joyce had the story that got told every night.
Yes. So, by the time we would get to the houses, we were exhausted. It had been a show from the get-go, putting on that smile, flirting with everybody.
Yep.
And it was flirting.
Of course it was.
Us girls were supposed to get a lot of people to come. Yeah. And so, it was a constant show from the time we arrived to the time we got to the house.
Yep.
And by the time we were done, it was just, we wanted to lay down. We wanted to chill. We didn't want to have to
you need to decompress
entertain anymore.
Yeah.
So we went to this one lady's house, and it was in Las Lunas, New Mexico.
Okay.
Small little town. And it was this old lady, not old lady, I don't know, maybe in her 50s.
Single lady.
But single, and you could definitely tell why, because the house was covered with cats.
No.
Now, I'm allergic to cats.
Oh, no.
And so I'm like, oh, crap. This is going to be one nightmare of a night. And so her living room, dining room, everything was cat hair.
Yeah, just dander everywhere.
We go into the little bedroom that she had set aside for us, and it was just a queen-size bed for us to share. And the comforter on top is just covered in cat hair. I'm like, seriously, you couldn't have washed it or something? So I'm like, okay, well, it'll get better. We'll pull the sheets back. It'll get better. Sheets were covered in hair. Seriously. No. So I couldn't get out of there fast enough. Morning could not come fast enough.
Yeah.
And she made us breakfast.
Of course.
And put our plates and our forks on the cat hair.
Oh, no.
I'm like, I'm not eating. Just not. No, I'm not hungry. And then she got a lunch.
Yep.
So yeah, that was.
Oh my God, that's terrible. I feel bad for complaining about sleeping in a camper trailer now.
That was not the worst.
Oh, I'm sure.
It wasn't. Surprisingly. Yeah.
No, not surprisingly. Tell us. We want to know. Unless you don't want to tell us. That's okay.
So we went southwest.
Okay.
And it was amazing. I loved going southwest. But somewhere, I don't remember where. I think I blocked this out of my memory.
Yeah.
Somewhere, it was a pastor's house. And the church was awesome. I remember at one point looking out the window because it had gotten dark, and there was this giant, I'm not kidding, giant spider with a web outside the window of the church. I'm like, oh, goodness, everything. I think it was Texas.
That sounds right for Texas.
Everything is big in Texas.
Right.
So we divide up, and we were going to stay at the pastor's house, which was right next door to the church.
Yeah, it's a parsonage.
Yeah. Grab your stuff, let's go.
Yeah, it's going to be easy.
We drive our, because the wheels on the luggage, we drive our luggage up to the house, and it is this shack. I am not kidding you. It is not a trailer. It is not a house. It is a shack. we walk in and he's like so proud of the place. He's like, yeah, we had this trailer and we built this like porch on it, and then we had to get rid of the trailer, so we built the other part of the porch to make a house. There was
So you have 2 porches?
There was a 2-inch gap from the bottom of the wall to the ground. There was no floor. It was dirt ground.
You're kidding me.
So the rooms were very rickety. The beds were, I felt like I was living in the prairie days. Like
this is Swiss Family Robinson.
Oh, it was awful. Because, like, remember the spider? I'm thinking,
you already,
the house. There was crickets everywhere, jumping all around us.
Because you had the lights on, all the bugs were coming in. Trying to keep them out.
Sleeping did not happen that night.
No.
And I thought, well, at least I'll get a little bit of a reprieve, take a shower, whatnot.
Right.
I walk into the bathroom. They built the bathroom around the tub. And yeah, it was just as rickety and scary, and I could not get out of there fast enough either.
Oh my God.
Awful. So yeah, I slept with the crickets that night.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have a couple stories, but they don't hold a candle. That is unreal. Can't feel you on the cricket house. I'm glad I can't. That sounds awful. Or the cats. But the whole like putting on, the frustrating part about like, you're putting on a show, it's a whole, then it really is, and it's a strenuous show. Not everyone is, I grew up singing, so I knew how to sing, but I still was just every night petrified. Like I was so scared. I think it got a little bit better as we went on, but I was still scared every night. And for me, the scariest part was not singing, because we had the dumbest setup ever. We had 2 leads. I don't know why. I love John Mingy. John is a great, awesome person. But why did we add? No. I think what we did, we added. I'm not gonna say his name because I talked so much crap. We added our tenor. You watch. I'm gonna slip and say his name and have to cut it out here. But we added our tenor, I think, towards the end of training, which is always a bad idea. Like, didn't we have? We had a semester, right, for training. Because that was when we found out who made tour. I think we had a semester.
I think you're right. Yeah, spring semester.
Because you don't know. No.
We trained a little bit during the fall semester.
Yeah, and because you got the call before you got back to college, right?
Yeah.
Or no. No, when did you? I'm confused on the process now, because I got a call over the summer for something. Maybe I was the last minute addition. Why did they add me? That was stupid. No, I think you found what? How did that work? Because I remember, okay, so the call was actually, I think the call was from Nick. And it was neat for me because Nick Coates and me knew each other from camp as teenagers, a couple 2-3 years before college. And then we were in college the same time. And then 3 years later, here we are on the same tour group, which is super cool. But I think that was what I found out. We found out the picks over the summer, it feels like, but that doesn't feel right either.
I don't know.
It's weird. I'm remembering that for some reason. I'm missing something, because I remember there was a phone call that I found out that I was going to be on tour with Nick, and I feel like it was summer. Maybe it was spring break. I don't know. I remember for me, the most nerve-wracking part was the intros. Because the songs I knew, I'd been practicing these songs for months. And I was still nervous. And every once in a while, Jordan would be like, hey, why don't you sing the lead tonight? I'm like, why don't you go to heck? Like, I'm not want to do that. And it was good. I should have done it. I wish I had done it, honestly. But, like, anytime there was extra pressure, it was like, nope. I would learn the fifth. So on a lot of endings, I would find the fifth part. And it sounded great in practice, and then we would try to do it on stage. It was gone, just gone. So I had to find the fifth, because Jordan loved that, because that's a Gaither vocal band thing. And Jordan loved that, and he would be like, dude, that sounds great. You got to do that tonight. I'm like, I can't perform on stage beyond what I'm already doing. It's not happening. So I would then have to teach it to John Mingy so he could sing the part that I found, because I couldn't remember it on stage because I was too nervous. Anyway, I was always super nervous about the intros. Because the songs we knew, but the intros, I was like, I'm Stuart from, because I had moved so much, I was from 3 different places. I grew up in Indiana, then we moved to Missouri, and then we were in Alabama. So I think I introduced myself from Alabama because Randy Toole was a big deal in the IFB circles, and so it was cooler to be from there. But I remember one night I got really nervous, and I, instead of saying I'm from or something normal, I said I hail, and I never heard the end of that. They're like, oh, Stuart, where do you hail from? What's a hail? I'm like, oh, okay. Like, everyone gave me so much crap, and they should have. That was just weird. So, anyways, I don't know why I'm telling you all this stuff.
That reminds me. We gave Joyce a hard time. She slipped up one day and said that she was descendants of the Aztec Indians.
That's awesome. That's awesome. If you think about it, we honestly should have like done different stuff every night just to mess around. That would have been so much fun.
Oh man, everything was so rehearsed. You know, even the sermons.
You knew. Well, especially with Pete. Like, Scott was an evangelist before he was doing this, so Scott had like 3 billion sermons.
Yeah.
Rarely heard the same one. But Pete was like the life sermon and like maybe 2, and like 2 others.
Yep. Yeah, no, it was funny to watch because every single illustration, you could hear Dr. Cowling saying it, and you could look over to Mrs. Cowling because she was always on the front row, you know. Always support her husband. She would be mouthing it the entire time. It was like, whoa, she knows this by heart.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, if you ever got stuck, you could just look over at her and she could.
She already knew. Yeah, she get him right back on track.
But oh man,
it's hilarious. I think we had some interesting meals. I think one of the worst ones was. So, you know, there's pepperoni on pizza, and I know I've talked about this before. There's pepperoni on pizza, but these people, and it wasn't like, hey, we're going to try this out. It was like, this is one of our favorite meals that we eat. And I was like, oh, okay, well, it must be delicious. And then instead of pepperoni, it was hot dogs, like, you know, like you would put in your mac and cheese, right? Like little rounds. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm a redneck. I'm trailer trash. I should be, you know, this makes, you know what? Hot dogs and pizza, I like them both. And I've been into it. I was like, I want to die. I was like, this is the worst concoction I've ever had. Oh, my God.
And you had to eat it, though.
And then you're done, yeah. Well, I was not great. I don't know. I think it was the pastor's kid entitlement in me. I was great at, like, let me get 5 napkins and set it on top of this and throw it away. And that's what I did that often. I remember it was spring tour, right? Because we had spring for like a week, then summer, then fall. And every once in a while we would go out to like some other little thing over a weekend. But I remember going on spring tour. Matt, someone lost their tie. And I don't remember how that, you know, that was I remember that being a huge ordeal. Like, why is
I lost a skirt.
Oh, boy. You'd think they'd give us like spares. They really should have given everyone spares.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had the money. We were raising money for them all summer. So whatever.
Oh man, we were raking it in.
Hand over fist.
Yeah.
But I remember that first meeting. Because I had always wanted to go on tour. The ladies groups would come every year to our church, and it was a dream. And my mom had gone on tour, and I was like, oh my! And I tried every year. I guess maybe not my freshman year. I don't know, but at least every year up until my junior year. I don't know. I don't remember, but like. I remember trying out and just being devastated every time I didn't make it because this was a very, very much a bucket list thing for me. And then I finally made it. I was on tour. I was on tour with a really cool tour pastor, and my buddy from high school, basically from camp, was with me. Like, this is a dream come true. And we get to that first meeting, and it was great. We had a good night, you know. And then we get to the potluck or whatever after, and I was like, man, just piling food on. And then I realized, I had the realization, like, dude, this is just another potluck. All this food is terrible. And I started picking through it, and I was like, yeah, this is all really bad food. I just got way too psyched on this experience, and you have to throw it all away. This is all like, I don't know. It's all like, what's the Midwest thing that that's all we eat? A casserole. It was all casserole. That's everything.
Yeah.
And that was, if I had any actual complaint about tour, it was the food was just garbage. Like, there was no.
See, we
yeah, but you went Southwest. Yeah, you did great.
Yeah. Oh, such good food. You know, we had the best Mexican restaurants.
Oh, I believe
in California. Yeah, it was really good food. Even the potlucks.
Yeah, well, you got good cooks out there. But again, I'm from the Midwest. I love the Midwest. I will always want to move back there. I love Indiana with all my heart, but our food is trash. Unless you're in a big city, that has, you know, a lot of different nationalities in it, you're not, unless you're in Chicago, or I wouldn't even say Indianapolis, but unless you're in like Chicago or some other big city, like, you're not getting good food. It's just not happening. So, and it's funny because I'll go home to Indiana or Missouri, and people be like, "Oh, you got this Mexican restaurant is so good. You gotta try it." And I'm like, "This is paste salsa. Like, this is not no. This is terrible."
I will say that the going Southwest kind of ruined me as far as finding any good Mexican restaurants. Mm-hmm. It's impossible.
Yeah, I feel you.
Go
ahead.
I love the Southwest so much. I married a guy from there.
Right. So, yeah. It had quite an impression. I want to hear about your platform dynamic if this story brings anything to mind.
Okay.
But I remember, you know, training was interesting because we had Jake Giesler, and no one's going to do that falsetto. No, not falsetto, that vibrato. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So, and that's what he wanted out of our tenor. And our tenor was like, "No, I can't go. No one, that's not a, no."
It's like he, you know, would purposely shake.
Yes, dude, it was too much. And like, I'm just going to, who cares, whatever. Jake, I highly doubt Jake. John would watch this before Jake would. So, maybe Jake will watch it. Say that again. You went out with John?
I went out with John.
But like, he was one of those people that had that super high voice. So it doesn't, like, that was a thing, not unlike the male pianists. If you had a super high voice, didn't mean you were going to get on tour, but you had a really good chance just because you had a high register, and there weren't a lot of us. That's a big time side note. But I remember our pianist did not take any crap, like, ever. And he got pissed. Like, we'd be practicing and couldn't get something. He'd be like, "Guys, can you please just, like, get this together? Because, oh my God." Because again, this was his, like, I don't know, third year, second year, something like, probably his third. And he wasn't over it. But like, when we would screw up, he was really over it. Like, he hated it. But I remember one night, because it's a common thing, especially I don't think as a professional, but in church circles, when something's wrong, it's an easy thing to look at the pianist and be like, "What's going on?" Mm-hmm. You know. But I remember one night, I don't remember what happened, but we were at that church where we stayed in the camper. I remember that. That was the church we were at.
Crazy.
We were on the platform, and I don't think we were practicing. I think it was time. We weren't miking up, like, it was time. And something went wrong, and it was us. It was totally us. And I think one person turned, and then the rest of us turned to look at Terrence, and Terrence legit was just like, and wouldn't play. He just sat there.
Awesome.
So we had to go back in a cappella and wait for him to come in because we screwed it up, and then looked at him like some dumb bumpkins, like, "Come on, man." He was just like, "No, I'm not taking that from you guys. I didn't do this. You did it. Now you fix it." I remember that vividly, and I had respect for that. Like, yeah, it wasn't you. It was us. Okay, so do you have any either platform dynamic story, or did you guys have a good dynamic, or any faux pas besides the Aztec princess story, which is great. I need to shoot her a message and be like, "Hey, I heard Aztec descent. Someone said back in 2006 they heard you sing."
Oh man, we never let her live that one down.
Good. Bet she'll remember it when I hit her up with it.
I'm trying to think. I think I messed up one time and started a song intro in the wrong key.
Ooh.
But I don't remember what happened. Like, if we just kind of went with
acclimated,
it. Or you know what? I do remember there was one particular song. I kind of taken some of the beginning parts from Robert Lopez.
Yeah.
He did the same kind of intro, and I'm like, yeah, I like that, you know. And I was in charge of coming up with all of the extra
your
stuff.
arrangements,
so why not? But when we got to youth conference, and I played it for I don't remember who.
You had to play ahead of time.
Yeah, you had to make sure that your songs were approved.
Oh, I know what we did. I think we did that for a couple songs, and then Scott had us like come out like randomly at the end of his sermon, and that one we didn't get approved. But it was Scott. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. So you had to get it approved.
But yeah, when I got it approved,
Colston was approving it, or
I
no?
think it was.
Yeah, she's a stickler.
She said, you need to change that up. And it threw me off because, I mean, we've been
doing it all summer.
What,
that's the end of
already?
tour. Isn't the end of tour youth conference?
No, we went for another 2 weeks after that.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
That's brutal.
But anyway, so it threw me off, and I was so super nervous for that one song because I'm like, man, you know, I've got this practiced. Once I got started on the intro, I kind of went into a zone.
Yeah.
Because behind the piano, you can kind of hide. You don't see the crowds. You don't notice that you're playing for like 10,000
Yeah, like you said, you're in the zone. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was very much acclimated to being behind the piano.
Yeah.
But it went off without a hitch.
I forgot. We sang the whole same song all summer, and then we got to youth conference. Saved was the song, and I had my solo was the second verse, and legit we're in front of this huge crowd, and it's time for my solo, and I've sung this song all summer. Months I've sung this song. We practiced it in rehearsal before the summer. The lyrics are gone. I'm standing here with my mic in hand in front of however many thousand kids, and I've got nothing. And Nick, my God, saved my life. He just leaned over and whispered it to me. I was like, oh, yeah, I got right into it, no problem. And I'm sure a few folks were the wiser, but I was just petrified. Because I knew, like, I had the whole first verse was Jordan. I knew I had time. I had the chorus. I was good. And then it came time, and everything just was gone. I just lost everything. I had nothing. That was so embarrassing.
I've had that happen before, or like my voice will shake when I'm singing. So I was so glad that I was behind the piano. I mean, you can't really shake when you're playing the piano.
Right, so. And if you do, who notices unless you're, you know, getting crazy
you totally botch it.
Right.
Like every note wrong.
Right. That, not the same thing, but similarly, that was why we kind of got to choose our roles as far as like after the service was over. So I chose to do the table because I don't like people. And only time I had to talk to people, I didn't have to recruit. None of that jazz. All I had to do all I had to do was sell people stuff.
The year that I went, we did
Where did you record?
We were the last tour group to record down at Faith Music Mission.
Evansville, Indiana.
And that was cool. That was, you know, you felt a privileged group going down.
That is super cool.
Yeah. So
we recorded the year after. You know, we recorded the year after.
Yeah, we were the last one down in the basement.
Yeah, ridiculous. I couldn't believe that. And then I think after that they went to Sweetwater in Fort Wayne. I think.
Oh, okay. They also did the tour pictures. We were the last ones to get them done at a studio.
Where did we do our tour pictures?
You probably did them
in
the
basement.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yearbook office, which is the basement.
Yep.
If you, oh my God, yeah. And then we did, I think we only did one CD, but when we did the choir with everyone, with all the groups, we recorded that in the chapel. It's just like, this is, Laura Taylor, Allison commented when I posted that about the tour song. She commented and was just like, I can't believe we recorded in the auditorium. She's like, I was singing and I was like, this is gonna be so bad. And honestly, I'm not here to say it's a terrible CD. I'm not here to say it's good at all. I still listen to it. I don't care what anyone thinks. But like, for where we recorded, someone did some serious magic with mixing that, because it just sounded much worse.
It had to have been. Yeah. I mean, when you're recording, there's so much that goes into it. You know, the sound room and all the equipment.
The microphones, everything.
They messed ours up though. Like I worked hard to get my part on, you know, the piano part.
Yeah.
To accompany, and our group was good.
Yeah. Being
honest, like
if you've got Hannah Goddard in your group, you know, and Joyce, those are powerhouse vocalists.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason Joyce and Steve were always singing together. Like, you know, they were good. You know, absolutely, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Did you have? Who else did you have?
Jessica Finley. Amy Aswarty. Which Dr. Cowling, I guess, set up her parents. So
that makes sense.
That's a big thing. You know, he would introduce us all. Hillary Hall.
Oh yeah, Hillary's great. Yes. Yes.
Is that it? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Oh no, Lacey Young.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, Lacey's been doing that her whole life for sure. Yeah, you had powerhouse names too.
We had
Finley and Young and Goddard. Yeah. So what happened to your
So when we recorded, you know, they would play it back for us, and it sounded amazing. I thought it was good. They mixed it. And then
Russ
they
screwed
put
it all up.
all that instrumental stuff in the background, and it made it so overpowering that you couldn't hear my piano playing.
That's the faith. That's the faith. Like putting all that bass and stuff.
That Jericho song, I loved. I loved playing it. And yeah, they covered it all up.
They went fundamental difference with it, is what they did. They threw a bunch of bass and crap strings. That's not strings. That's a synthesizer. It's so bad. Their strings were so bad. Oh God, yeah, we have our own.
I still have the CDs. We did two.
Good.
We did a patriotic and then a regular one.
Oh, why don't I? Is it on Spotify? Do you know if it's on Spotify?
I don't know.
You should look it up. Ours is. Yeah, crazy enough as that sounds, ours is on Spotify. And pretty much everything after ours is on Spotify, but I don't know. Oh, okay. I think This Is America is on there too. This is America. Not the Childish Gambino song. That's so funny. I just realized that. That is not just a Donald Glover Childish Gambino song that's very politically charged, but it's also the title of like the old school Hyles-Anderson patriotic CD. This Is America. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
I'll put that up. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to look at the tour CDs that I can find and see if yours is on there. So, yeah, I don't know why. I really revel in talking about tour. To be fair, it was one of the funnest summers of my life. I had such a great time.
Me too.
I think you did as well. So it's fun to talk about. Like it's a weird thing. To me, it's a very weird thing because I haven't made a career out of this podcast. That'd be great if I was getting paid for this. I'm not complaining, but like I have made a big, this is a big chunk of my life to say all the things I'm saying and to talk about the IFB, but still that summer is a high mark for me, a big time. That's what was one thing I wanted to say, which I probably already said on the podcast, but I remember our tenor, who shall continue to remain nameless. And what was funny was we were at a church, a very small church. This is what I was saying was weird, was some of the biggest churches did not give us the greatest places to stay or the greatest food. And some of these small churches, like it was a little church in the middle of nowhere in Indiana, and they put us up in a really nice hotel. But it was 3 to a room and there were 2 beds. So our tenor and Jordan and me were all, in the same room. Those 2 fools were trying to convince me that I should sleep on the floor so they could each have a bed. And I'm like, look, I'm not excited about sleeping with either of you guys, but you could also sleep together. I don't care. And so I was just like, what's wrong? Someone sleeping with someone, I don't care. I'm not sleeping on the floor. And to be honest, I don't remember how that night turned out, aside from the fact that I did sleep on a bed. But yeah, they weren't stoked on that. I'm not mad at Jordan for that. But I'm just saying, like, it was funny that they were like, oh, you should sleep on the floor. Like, no, I'm not sleeping on the floor.
Absolutely not.
Training was interesting too. I remember when we first met Scott Gray, when we found out who our tour pastor was going to be, I had my I can't remember if we were engaged or not. I feel like we were engaged. My fiance, at least my girlfriend at the time, had given me a quinceañera ring. So it was like a little tiny ring that she had gotten for her 15th birthday. And it was gold and it was very like pliable. So I wore it and it was a heart. And I wore it on my pinky all the time. Really, definitely a big no-no. I don't know how I got away with that. But I wore it on my pinky. And I remember I think it was Jake was telling us after Scott met with us, he was like, he thought everyone was okay except me. And I don't, that didn't hold throughout the whole summer, but because I had this pinky ring, he was like, so with that guy's pinky ring. Like, and again, I'm not saying that against Scott. It was just funny that I remember that he was not a fan of my ring. It's very funny. But yeah, I don't really think I enjoyed training that much, just because it was very like, I think I know why I didn't enjoy training. I didn't enjoy training because before that, it wasn't even training that I was doing. Me and Robert Lopez would meet like on days when there just wasn't that much going on or whatever. We would meet in the practice rooms, and me and him would just he would play and we would both sing, and we would do that for like hours. I remember doing that several times. And that for me is some of my best memories from college, just hanging out, because Robert's so talented. And the fact that he would take the time, and what we would always say is the premise was, well, we're going to sing a special in chapel. And that's what we practiced for hours on end, so many different songs. And we did end up one time singing one special in college. And Robert had it wasn't like we couldn't get on the docket for chapel. Like, it was Robert Lopez. We could do whatever we wanted. We just didn't do it. We were just screwing around. He was playing and we were singing. It was so much fun. But I think that's why I didn't like training as much, because now it was with a group. It was less free form, and Jake was over our shoulders yelling at us, because you needed to sound a little bit like Signature Sound or Gaither Vocal Band, but not too much.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you ever have any troubles when you came back from tour, kind of like that intro? Did you ever have anything else like that, as far as like, you got accustomed to doing it this way, but now you're back in the rigidity of our system, and you can't do it like that now?
Are you talking about
like
college in general, or singing in the group?
Both. Yeah, both. Singing in the group first.
Well, singing in the group, let's see. When we came back,
because like you said, when you came back for youth conference, that intro
for
was
youth
not
conference,
approved.
I had to change it up. I was not influenced by other music.
Nice.
Yeah, I was one of the good girls.
Oh, how dare you!
But it's funny. We went to one church that gave us it was Clint Miller's church. I don't know.
Yeah.
He gave us a bunch of his CDs, and oh my word,
he got that twang.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Even though they weren't approved. And then Doc would listen to this twangy old time music.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would play in the Sprinter. So.
Sounds right.
But no, that didn't really affect my style at all. So I didn't have to change anything.
Gotcha.
But for fall tour, we were missing a girl. Lacey did not come with us. I don't remember why.
That's Ray's daughter. She can do what she wants. Really? He was running the show.
We were supposed to record at an independent, like, someone outside of the college was going to record us doing some songs so we could have our own CD.
Nice. And
Doc canceled it all because he's like, well, Lacey's not there. And she planned on and drove down to meet us. So yeah, that was kind of awkward.
That's real awkward.
But we were quick about it to, change parts and whatnot. So it wasn't a problem.
Right.
But I think the biggest part was my mannerisms. Being on tour was flirty and fun.
Yeah.
And, it's
a different world.
We have free reign pretty much. I didn't have to have permission to go anywhere. I didn't, I didn't have to wear nylons every place. Well, I did have to wear nylons when we were dressed
for performances.
But it was a lot more free and open. And then you go back to college and it's rigid. Everything is, mission slips. And I remember getting in trouble. Student teaching, because I was talking to one of the high school boys, and like that was the same way I would talk on tour, and all of a sudden
to the same age group.
Same age group, exactly. Like I had someone your age fill out an application just last month, but okay.
Right. But now you're in trouble.
So that was a hard flip. But at that point too, Scott was kind of going all crazy with his sermons.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I didn't really care.
Right.
So yeah.
You were on your way out.
I blamed it on like senioritis. I just I can't believe I can't stand college anymore. But it really
that transition had to be tough.
It was extremely tough. So yeah.
Yeah, and it is crazy coming back from not like a sense of entitlement, but a sense of like, and it wasn't just like the freedom you had; it was also all the work you did for the college all summer, and now all of a sudden I have to go back to being one of the minions. Like I don't like that. No one liked it.
I did get to work out outside of the college.
That's dope. Yeah, where did you work, if you don't mind me asking?
I worked at 2 different places. First one was a cleaning job, and I'm trying to think, it was in Gary.
Okay. Little dicey.
We were about 15 minutes away from the church, so Wednesday nights when we would go and clean, it was hurry, rush, finish, and then barely squeak it in for church. Yeah. And then that job kind of shut down on its own. And then I started working for it was an no, not insurance. It was home health care.
Home health care, yes.
Do you
I'm very
remember
familiar.
that?
I didn't do it because I suck at sales, but yes, I'm very familiar. Yeah, a lot of the guys worked for home health.
Well,
Yeah.
it was the women's
The
job.
clerical
We were
side.
taking care of the people.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
would go into the homes and either buy them groceries or clean
Okay.
their houses, or one time we were asked to go get cigarettes, and
Nice.
I'm like,
I can't do
I've
that.
done that before. Like, I was so terrified, and I remember
awesome.
my partner, Kathy. Oh, what was her last name? Householder?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yeah. John House, right? I feel like
I don't remember. She had red hair. But she went in to go get it because I'm like, I can't. I can't.
This is so
That's
wicked.
a line I can't cross.
Right.
But I was the one that had the vehicle, so you know.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you're still
But
at fault.
I was fired from that position.
What?
Oh yeah. So I worked there for about 3-4 weeks maybe, and I loved it. It was an awesome job. I got to be out in the real world with real people that didn't go to Hyles-Anderson College or First Baptist Church. I learned how to make collard greens while I was there. Loved the interaction. I didn't mind the cleaning. But yeah, we showed up one day and they were like, we're restructuring and we've decided to cancel all of you guys' jobs and just have these two ladies do everybody's. So make sure you give all your reports and everything over to them.
So there wasn't a discussion. It was like, you're out.
Yeah, no, there was no, filing a complaint or anything against us, nothing that we had done. It was just, we've decided to let you go. And I'd never been fired from a job, never. So I scrambled, like, okay, where can I work? And I went right back to the yearbook office.
Yep.
So
that works. You got to make money somewhere.
Oh man.
Oh my God. We had when we came back, I didn't have to do as much like acclimation as far as like, because again, it's always easier for the guys, but I do remember we were singing. It's always a big competition between everyone else and the Highlander singing men. We hated the Highlander singing men. They got their own CD that year. So pissed. They got to go record at Gaither Studios in Indiana, which I was not okay with. None of us were. We were all mad. And Anthony Collins is really the reason. Like I was roommates with Mark Clementine, the bass. Like we were fine with them, but like Anthony Collins gets everyone all riled up against each other.
Yeah.
And I remember we wanted to sing the first chapel special, and the Highlander singing men wanted to sing the first chapel special. And somehow Scott Gray worked it out that we got to sing the first chapel special.
What?
Yeah, so we were very proud of that. And we not only did that, we were singing a song that we not put together, but learned to sing together on tour, and it was a Gaither vocal band song. Not like a newer one. It was one of Bill's older songs that was literally in the soul-stirring songs and like the blue hymnals. Wasn't it soul-stirring or was it not? I feel like it was soul-stirring, but it was in the blue hymnal that we had in chapel, that everyone had. So we're practicing it, the day of, a little bit ahead of time. We're doing our mic check, and Ray Young walks through. We don't think anything of it. He's just, sauntering through with his red tie. I don't think he has any other colored ties. And anyways, I got things to say about Ray. Anyways, and I'm about to say him right now. So he walks through, and we don't think anything of it. We're just singing, and then then next thing we know, we're all in Anthony Collins' office. We're all in Activity's office because Ray heard it, and his remarks were, "Oh my goodness, not another Gaither vocal band song! Like we can't do that to start off the school year." We were like, "Dude, it's in the hymn. Like we sang it at what? Kind of like you're saying like, oh, I talked to another kid." The same exact kind of scenario, and now I'm in trouble. Like, yeah. So like we were just like, we sang this all summer, bro. Like just because it's not one of our tour songs doesn't mean it, and because it's written by Gaither, it's in your hymnal. So we were not happy, and he, so Anthony was like reaming us out, and then Ray comes in, and we're like, well, we're screwed. And he comes in and kind of looks us all over, and we're coming back from tour. We're the rock stars, right? And so our hair is not done just right, and our clothes are a little whatever. We don't care. We're the cool kids. Ray just lit us. Everyone but Jordan, not against him, but because he's HB, Jordan was the only one that didn't get ripped. We all got ripped. Ray put his fingers through my hair and said, "Did you even put a comb in your hair today?"
Oh my word.
Which I hadn't. But who cares? Yeah. So it was and after that, then Scott came to us and was like, "Hey, he's talking about canceling, like you're not even going to get to go on fall tour." And
Whoa.
but I was like, yeah, okay, but my tuition's already okay, great. My tuition's already paid. You're telling me I get a week off of work and I can start a real job and I don't have to pause it for fall tour? Okay, sounds good. That was the whole consensus of everyone. We were like, sounds great.
Oh man.
I don't care. But we did go on fall tour, I remember, because I got in trouble with Randy Toole. There. So this is the note I swear to God, this is the note from the incident. And if you remember, I don't know if you ever would have gotten one of these, but what Ray would do, so you would address it to him, so it's scribbled out. Mm-hmm. I address it to him, then Ray wouldn't write you a note back. Mm. Ray would readdress it to you. I'm looking at it wrong. He would readdress it to you, and then here's my big long note, and then he would write over top of your note at the bottom. This is him responding to me. I even have my
I was never privileged to get one of those.
Yeah, but it's an a-hole way to write a note. Write me an actual note back. Don't write on top of my stuff. I said, I just wanted to thank you for correcting me on Wednesday for my hair. Yeah, this is what it's from. I do apologize for not cooperating with our Hyles-Anderson way of combing our hair. I want you to know that the way that you saw my hair combed for chapel on Wednesday, this is what it was for, will remain the same throughout the entire year. It did not. And in fact, he caught me again. This is not something that I will allow to become a stumbling block between myself and the staff and faculty here at Hyles-Anderson College. I do offer my sincerest apologies for my previous hairstyle and my deepest congratulations for your new position as president. It's so great to know that a leader of your caliber is at the helm of this college. Thank you for everything, Dr. Young. And then I signed it, put my life's verse, and then my name. I printed my name. So when he wrote it back to me, I need to send you his picture because this is a terrible version of this. When he wrote it back to me, he circled, and he can't even write to Stuart. He circles my name, so I know it's for me. No duh. And he says, thank you for the encouraging, it looks like worst, but I hope it's work and great spirit. I love you, Ray.
Wow. Those feel real heartfelt.
Real quick response, bro. But that is, I guarantee you, that is from that exact incident. I just put all those together.
You write him a letter.
It's not the first time either. I had many interactions with Ray. Ray and my dad were close because he was running the bus ministry when my dad was a division leader.
Oh, okay.
Have you listened to, we have an episode where we do the interview. Have you listened to that one where I have my buddy impersonate Ray Young? I'm calling you out here on the podcast. I'm going to send it to you. It's not funny. Super long. It's less than 20 minutes, but it's him just telling these, because Ray would tell these stories, and it's like when we're awestruck and under the spell, like, oh yes, great Dr. Young did.
Yeah.
No, man. Like the stuff he was saying was not true. And so my buddy just takes it a little step further. He has a story about Pumpkin Patch Baptist Church, about how Dr. Hyles went through like a really tough time in his ministry, and so he went into hiding, and Ray Young took on all the mannerisms of Dr. Hyles. And for like 2 years he was I gained the, what does he say? I gained the weight to fill the suit to be the man. It's hilarious.
Okay, I definitely
need to watch that. To you. There's that one, and then it's about Pumpkin Patch Baptist, and Jack Hyles is out in a pumpkin patch preaching to pumpkins. So Ray Young the night before, he says, I printed all the flyers for Dr. Hyles, and so he prints all the flyers and he said I had to hand them out. So I handed them all to myself, so I could say I handed them out, and then the night before he goes out and carves faces on all 500 pumpkins in the pumpkin patch, and Dr. Hyles saw great work among the pumpkins. It's not as funny when I tell it for sure, but it's great. And then he has one about the tears of all of his men. Like Ray Young loved to talk about Jack Hyles weeping, but the house began to weep. And so like he says that like over and over in this like little thing he's doing, but like all the staff men come in and Brother Hyles is weeping, and Ray says we can't let the tears of the man of God go to waste. So he goes out and gets a kiddie pool, and Brother Hyles stands in the kiddie pool. They stand with tears. And then when when Brother Hyles tells everyone on Sunday, everyone cries, and then the old auditorium is overflowing with tears, and the insurance prices swell because. All right, I gotta stop.
Man, oh man,
It's so good.
Like flipped out all of this kind of stuff. He was one of those preachers I just kind of didn't listen to.
So boring.
Yes! Oh my goodness.
He was so boring, and he made it worse with those lists on those weird pieces of paper that were too long to be a regular piece because his list was too long, and he couldn't use a smaller font. And so, like, this paper was like, did you have to print any of those? No, you weren't in the print shop. You were yearbook. But
no,
print shop had to print those.
Okay. We interacted, yes,
okay.
Definitely. So yeah.
His lists were great. They were like, hug your mother. Well, duh. Like, okay. Yeah, can do, bro. I haven't seen her in 6 months, but thanks for the reminder. Oh my God. Make sure you go for a walk. Like stuff like that. And I'm just like, what? Who do you think you're talking to? Yeah, Ray Young is something else. But yeah, very, very boring, very dry. Like, but he was the president of the college. So, I mean, he probably spoke to us once a week. Maybe not that much, but probably close to it. I
cringed every single time I saw his name. Dr. Anderson.
Oh my God. Do you know how I stayed awake during Rusty's sermons? I'm going to tell you right now. It's a great trick. It's too late. I'm about, 15 years too late? The way you stay awake during Russell Anderson's sermons is you count the and so's. Because he hung on to that, because Jack Hyles would say and so all the time. And so Rusty thought, I call him Rusty. We're not good friends, but I would like to make it sound like it. Rusty thought that if you copy Jack Hyles and say and so a bunch, then you're a great public speaker. A great public speaker, he was not. Great at making tons of money off of, crappy apartments, he was great at. But, like, not a speaker. And
it's hard to follow his sermons.
How about Joe Boyd? Like, I'm not trying to be unkind and rest in peace because I'm sure he's not alive any longer. But, like, we should not have had him in the pulpit. He wasn't in any kind of state to do. You don't remember him?
I don't remember his sermons in particular.
Hey boys, making the shower, babies. That is, and we would all week. We were so excited Joe Boyd was going to preach because we were going to get so much great material from him. Because he wasn't all like, I'm not trying to be. I know it's unkind, but he wasn't mentally challenged, but he was senile. He wasn't all there, and they were putting him up in front of us. It was terrible, but it was so much fun. Joe was full of great material.
There was so many sermons that were very fast, very just like whoa.
Bob Hooker was a big one, yeah.
And I was one. I didn't.
Were you there when Jack Scott wanted to know who the someone was? Do you remember that one? Who in the are you?
Rice I knew, Roloff I knew, Young I know, Hooker I know, but who in the hell are you?
If you weren't there, you would remember.
He did preach one, was it damn in condemnation or something? He took
it sounds right.
The word, and there again, it was like, whoa, we've grown up in a household that you didn't say cuss words or mere cuss words.
Excuse me. You don't even walk the line. You just stay all the way away from it.
Way far.
You don't even say heck.
Gosh was one that I learned from Belinda Gayona.
Yeah, no, I didn't say gosh.
Where was I going with this?
Maybe his sermon about and condemnation, or
well, it was just a lot of the different sermons were mind blowing. Like, I can't believe you just said that. I'm turning shades of red, and I hadn't had the talk yet. I was 20 years old before I had the talk.
I think I was a teenager. I think I was 13 or 14, but this isn't against my parents, but it was very minimal. The talk did not prepare me for the act whatsoever. I prepared myself.
Oh,
so like, no, really, like, again, I'm not trying to be gross. I'm just saying, like, that's what you had to do. Like, that was
prepared. The way you grew up. Yeah. If you were in it from the beginning or near the beginning. Yeah.
And what we've talked about here before, which is, again, just as mind-blowing, is that what you're saying, and you're absolutely right, these pastors, church leaders, they could say all kinds of crass statements, generally not about men, generally about women's bodies. But your parents, nothing against your parents, my parents, anyone's parents, our parents felt great shame in talking to us about what's this phrase? Our changing bodies. Like our parents felt like, that's taboo. But the pastor can talk about how a woman looks in a pair of pants and how it leaves nothing to the imagination.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, that doesn't, and that's a direct quote from so many pastors. But like that's not me. I am repeating here. What do they say? Oh, don't get mad at me, get mad at the Bible. Don't get mad at me, get mad at the cult pastor. Okay.
Yep.
So like it's just crazy that there's that oxymoronic relationship, if that's not the right word, but like, that your parents can't talk to you about that, but this guy can say this kind of stuff. Oom-PaPa was honestly the best part of any chapel ever, and that was pretty much it. Do you remember, or do you not remember?
No.
Yeah, you do. I'm just saying it weird. When Quozo, Stubblefield, and I can't remember who else would sing to us for Christmas break.
Yes.
3 o'clock rehearsal, I think, is the title of the song. I'm trying to remember who else. It was Stubblefield and Quozo. I could find it on YouTube.
At 3 o'clock rehearsal, we came to sing and play, so all of us could bring you a happy holiday. The tuba, practice on the tuba. Oom-PaPa, Oom-PaPa, Oom-PaPa. At 3 o'clock rehearsal, we came to sing and play, so all of us could bring you a happy holiday. The trumpet, we practiced on the trumpet. Ta-ta, 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 ta-ta. At 3 o'clock rehearsal, we came to sing and play, so all of us could bring you a happy holiday. The clarinet, we practiced on the clarinet. Doodle-doodle-doo. At 3 o'clock rehearsal, we came to sing and play, so all of us could bring you a happy holiday. The glockenspiel, we practiced on the glockenspiel. Ding, 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 doodle-doo-doo, ding, doo-doo-doo, ding, doo-doo-doo-doo, Tis a season to be jolly. La 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 la. Ding 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 ding. Ding 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 ding. Ta 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 ta.
I feel like Vogel at some point was in it, maybe. I remember it was people that I wasn't sure they could sing except for Mario Quozo, and I'm still not sure that Mario could sing. It was more of a robot kind of thing where it was someone installed it in him. Like
He taught some of the music classes at college because I took them.
Yeah, it's just when the problem I had was when he would teach guys tour groups, they were literal carbon copies of his CDs that were just 4-part barbershop harmony. That was just not.
No,
that's all it was. Yes, exactly. It was just, oh my God, so boring. But yeah, that song.
I did enjoy when they would, lighten up a little bit and do those kinds of skits.
Yes.
Do you remember when they did the Charlie Brown one? I'm trying to think. Let's see.
They did Charlie Brown Christmas, right?
Yes, Charlie Brown Christmas, where they had
I don't remember who was what though.
The piano guy.
Zachary?
Oh, who?
Not Mike Zachary.
No, he was gone by that point. His wife sang soprano.
Rocco DePiece.
Rocco DePiece.
Yeah.
There we go. I couldn't remember his name. He terrified me. He played, was it Schroeder? The
Yeah, he did. That's right. I remember
and
that now,
then
yeah.
Linda Gayona did Lucy.
Yes.
Was it Bob Hooker that did Charlie Brown?
It had to be. Who else? It's him or no, it shouldn't have been. It should have been Carpenter. David Carpenter is like Charlie Brown or Elmer Fudd. The joke was always that David Carpenter was Elmer Fudd, but it should have been. But David Carpenter is not a platform guy, so it's probably Bob. Yeah, because he has no hair. It makes sense.
Yeah, that was, that was those times where it was like, oh, finally we can have some fun.
Relax. But that's what's crazy is that's what all of college should have been. That's how it should have been all the time.
Yeah, I went into college thinking that this was going to be the time of my life because that's what I've been told.
And that's what youth conference is.
Well, and my pastor too, like he was, dead set. Yes, these were the best years of my life.
He's an alumni, right? Lyle? Yeah.
Well, he went there for 13 years.
I bet he brought a lot of people through those church doors in the old auditorium.
Danny Mendez.
Lifer.
He was one of
that's one of his bus kids.
Bus kids, yep.
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
But no, they were the worst years of my life.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, I didn't learn anything as far as Bible. I learned life experience, and it was in a bubble. Life experience in a bubble. With
life experience, but only this way.
With sexual talk every single chapel service, coming from Scott.
Oh, yeah.
That was some bizarre stuff. Like,
have you heard his last sermon? Like his very last sermon he ever preached? Have you?
No.
Not that you should. I don't think it's healthy for anyone to listen to. But I've listened to it multiple times.
Yeah.
And just to be like, what? Because it's not a video recording. It's an audio recording, but it's on YouTube. And it is the most, like you thought chapel was bad. Mm-hmm. It is the most overt stuff you've ever heard. Basically, the story is, I'm not going to go into detail. It's gross, but it's a teenage girl in a church, and the church he's visiting, coming up to him for like dating advice, and that's it. I mean, honestly, that's really Scott's MO. Is like, if I don't know if did you ever have any counseling sessions with him at all?
I was supposed to for senior year.
You missed out. That's great.
And I'm like, you know what? You don't know me. I don't know you. You don't know what God's will for my life is. I'm skipping it.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to have a senior one, but I think maybe the reason I didn't was because I was barely going to graduate. Like, legit, I was going into my last semester, 1 credit shy. And Stubblefield managed to, Marshall had a class. This was after you were gone. It was honestly the only class that I think I learned anything in, aside from church ed, because you learn the same stuff every semester. Mm-hmm. And because I flunked out of it so many times, I ended up taking church ed like every semester I was there.
Oh man, I heard that.
No, not flunked out. I think I flunked out once, and then I got financially withdrawn. Yeah. But I cheated. When I passed, I cheated. Like, we had to do the marriage vows. I wrote them on a piece of paper, put on the outside of my binder, and then just wrote it down. Like, no.
Did you ever take pastor school classes for credit?
I might have. I don't remember, but it feels really close to home. Like, either I did it or someone I'm very close with did it. Yeah, I didn't get my senior appointment either. And in fact, and again, like I say, I think it's because I wasn't really sure I was going to graduate in the 4 years. Yeah. But I didn't go on the senior outing.
The senior day?
But I was happy not to.
Oh.
So, and it wasn't because of Jack, because I was bummed I was missing it. Mm-hmm. I basically took the day off and the money I would have spent, and my fiance at the time was very much not happy that I couldn't make it, but I lied to her and everyone except Bobby Perry and Nick Coates about what I was doing. And it wasn't the same day. It was just kind of like I was replacing that day off and the money I spent on this thing I was doing instead of taking her to senior day, which is what she really wanted me to do. I did this instead, and I went, and I would not trade it. There are very few things I would not trade it. And I'm building it up. When I tell you, you're going to be like, okay, that's not what? Who cares? I went to Navy Pier to a Signature Sound taping, Ernie House's Signature Sound taping, and I had a blast. Richie Lopez was there. Manny Robles was there. Like,
totally jealous.
And honestly, there was like maybe 5 of us that were my age. Everyone else, because you know those concerts, everyone else was an old head. Like, they were all 65 plus.
Concert.
What? You need to go. You need to, if you can stomach Southern Gospel, that's a fun one to go to. And I haven't been to that many. I've been to little shows in LA, and I've been to one like legitimate rock concert with Safety Suit, which was really fun. But like, yeah, you need to go.
So you were the reason why there would be sermon illustrations right after the concerts. for several weeks.
But listen. No, I didn't see staff members there, but Eddie Lapina and Scott Gray and Chris Teff were all well known for when Legacy 5 would come to Portage, they would always go. Always. Like, it was a thing. So what a joke. But yeah, that was my, I'm not bitter, but that was my big, like, senior thing that I did instead of, and I did it to, like, I'd never been to a concert. So, like, I got there super early. I parked, and I was actually there so early that Ernie and the guys were, like, walking around in tracksuits, like, looking at things before.
Oh,
like,
cool.
I met him before, which was just like, oh.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was super cool for me at the time. And then I stayed after. I took down, I found, like, do I still have that? I don't think I have it anymore, but I found a sign. I had Bobby. No, that was a different time. But I found a sign with all of them on it, and I cut it down from, like, the signage, and I got them all to sign it. I stuck around for a long time after. I got Ryan Seaton to give me a tie. I was so proud of that. Anyways, but what I had done was when I left in my work clothes. My fiance walked me out to my car. I had my suit that I was going to wear the night in the car, but I was wearing my nasty work clothes. I went to the Speedway when you go left, and then there's a Speedway on your right a little ways down. I went and changed there. I should have waited to change. That was probably not a good idea. It could have been more secretive, but I changed there, went all the way down to Chicago down Lakeshore Drive, parked, did the thing. When it was over, I went into one of the bathrooms there, changed back into my work clothes, and drove back to the college, and got back a little bit early from work that night.
Oh my
just so I could go to a concert where they were going to sing about Jesus and not get in trouble at the college where I was learning about Jesus. So
that's what was so crazy. Like, what is wrong with Southern gospel music that it couldn't be listened to at the college?
I have no idea.
You know,
do you remember? It might have been my senior year. Bob Hooker, because Bob Hooker loved to preach about music. That was like his jam, pun intended.
Well, because his family sang.
That's true. Yeah, well, they needed the money, CD sales. The Hookers needed their money. Ironic. So he was preaching one time on music, and at some point they had, I don't know, maybe they had it from the get-go when I was there, but they had the thing, the projector screen thing that would come down. I don't know when they installed that, but remember they had it towards
At the
end.
college?
Yeah, on the platform.
That was there the entire time that I was.
Was it? Okay, yeah. For some reason I thought it was something new. Anyways, he had it come down, and then he put signature sound up on the screen, and so many of us were singing along. Like, we were loving it. We finally had Southern gospel music in chapel. This is perfect. And then of course he killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He killed it and turned back the lights back on. We all, not all, but so many of us were like, boo, boo, bring Ernie back. We were not happy. It was hilarious. It didn't go his way. That sermon illustration. It's not youth conference. And that's what I was trying to say earlier, was that was kind of the consensus of so many of us when we got to Hyles-Anderson was, oh, it's going to be a year of youth conference. Like, I can't wait.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't. It wasn't even close.
Well, I had grown up listening to Scott. You know, he would be at all the youth rallies around.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd go to.
Well, Michigan, yeah, that's home turf. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he was that gripping speaker that I always enjoyed.
Yeah.
Never realized that he was just, silver-tongued. He could sell rock to someone in a desert.
Oh yeah, totally.
But yeah, that first year of college, it was like, okay, I can get behind this, because it was very much like youth conference and whatnot.
Sure.
With his preaching.
Yeah.
Everybody else's, there was a few, like Brother Taft I really enjoyed, because he would always do funny
He's
stories.
great. Yeah, and it was very entertaining, even as a teacher.
Oh, it was so hard to follow him with teaching, though. Oh my goodness, I hated his
You're right.
classes, because you had to take notes.
Right, and he's so fast.
Oh,
yeah.
It was
I don't
awful.
know if I passed Old Testament survey, if I had to retake it, but yeah. It was.
You pretty much, you had to just turn in your notes and, fingers crossed, pray to God.
Yeah.
Please pass.
Yeah.
But I don't even know how strict he was at looking at them. And
I'm real sure he wasn't. I found I don't have it with me here. I need to stop reading all these things that I found, but I found I think it was my sophomore year. I found a memo that I'd gotten that he was my academic counselor or whatever. I found that the other day. Yeah. And I sent it to Heather, his daughter, and I was like, hey, let's check out what I found. And she's like, $100 says he never talked to you. I'm like, yep. Never had. And I'm like, honestly, I was relieved. Just one less thing I had to check. I didn't have time for that. So she's like, yep, that sounds like Chris. But yeah, But yeah, I see what you're saying though. How like Scott just kind of like it got weirder and weirder the longer you were there.
Yes. Yeah, I remember one Wednesday night, and this was, we were, me and my little gang of people, we would sit like as far back and closest to the exit as possible, and it was right in front of Brother Monty Watts on Wednesday nights, and so there was no mess
I don't
around.
have anything against Monty. He was and rest in peace, because I think he's passed as well. But like, he's just a weird duck, man. He just was.
He was awesome.
Okay, I'm not saying he's not awesome. It's just weird to me.
But no, like you could not mess around.
No, no nonsense.
He would not allow it. But that wasn't my thing anyway. You know, I'm just like, I would count the ceiling tiles.
Right.
You know, like just get me out of here.
Right.
But no, there was one service, one Wednesday night. He was describing men and women. A Wednesday night service. Children are in there.
Oh my God. Well, you can't do it on Sunday morning. Not that he never did, but.
But he was saying like, men are like a microwave. You can turn them on in an instant.
Oh yeah.
Where
women are like
crock pots. You gotta leave them on for a long time. And I'm just like, he just said that. What? Like, how does he get away with that? And then, you know, staff meetings the next, like Sunday nights he'd say something bizarre. And then the next morning for staff meeting, because I was senior year, I was doing student teaching.
Oh, okay. So you
Cameron Baptist High School and junior high and all that, they'd be like, oh, it was such a good sermon last night. And I'm looking around like,
says who?
You were in the same service as me.
Right.
That was no, there was nothing about that at all. Good. So I don't know. It was.
That's wild.
Yeah. It was near that time that he started saying like the Bible wasn't the Bible.
Yeah.
That
he
was
got
my
in
senior
so
year.
much trouble. So, yeah, that was when it started. I remember that because I got in trouble with IFB friends of mine that were like, hey, you know, Scott's talking about the sacraments as being like sex with God. Is everyone okay out there? Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Like, no, it's not. Yeah, and then I don't get into Bible discussions ever. I do have people that want to discuss the Bible with me, but for me, there's not a discussion to be had really. So like, it's ironic that people want to discuss it with me. Well, not ironic because I talk about religion a lot, but like that whole uninspired or inspired thing, like that's very like, that got him in a lot of trouble with a lot of IFB people. It really did.
Oh my goodness. I remember graduation.
And to be honest, sorry, I'm interrupting you. To be honest, I liked that idea. And at the time, and even looking back, I think like, yeah, like why would you say, because I think the big contention was like, can you get saved if it's not the King James Version? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people were upset by that. And he was like, no, like, and I'm not trying to be on Jack's side about anything, okay? But if I ever was, that actually makes more sense than a whole lot of other stuff he was saying. And it made a lot of people mad. But anyway, sorry, graduation, I interrupted you.
Let's see, he was talking about holding a summit that year.
Yes,
And he wanted us graduates to, you know, commit to going to that. And I'm like, no. See, I had met a guy on tour, and we had started talking long distance. He would write me and whatnot. And Dr. Cowling was like, Shellie, tour relationships never really work out. You need to, you know, end that.
They actually do, but.
Oh, man. I'm like, no, I'm keeping it, you know, and we continued on with our relationship. Yeah. So senior year, you know, all the functions and whatnot, I had to bring a date.
Oh my God. So what did you do?
Well, I had lots of guy friends, and so I was like, hey,
I don't want to go to this thing,
with you, but just know up front, this is not a date. This is fun. We're gonna have the time of our lives, but we are not dating.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, graduation. I'm like, nope, sorry, I'm not coming back. I moved out to New Mexico and have not been back since.
Good.
So
good for you. Yeah, I remember that summit. I think he did do it, but that would have been the summer of 07. Yeah, and again, I wouldn't have been around. I was on tour, so probably I would have been there otherwise. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he did do it.
I'm surprised you didn't have the tour groups all come back for that.
You would think. With my memory, maybe he did. I don't know. Sounds like you have some bus rally memories.
Awesome.
Thing was whack. That was like it wasn't a night bus program, but it was like a bus program, the bus rally in and of itself.
And it was a big deal too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, there wasn't much that went on, but it was a big deal.
So that was the bus rally it was a huge deal. And I've forgotten so much of it. Like the guys, I talked to John Warden or whoever, and they'd be like, yeah, dude, they had like WWE type wrestling matches. I didn't remember any of this. Yeah.
I remember a pig chase.
A what? A pig chase? Yeah. Yep. Was that Harvest Days or was that was the bus rally?
I want to say it was the bus rally.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
That was traumatizing. See those pigs like tackled by 400
But you didn't have, I'm not saying it's a great idea. Pig chases are ridiculous. But you didn't have any of those growing up at all? You guys never had pig chases at the church?
No.
Oh, Lyle, you need to get with it, man. Pig chases are
No, the only time I was around, that was Brother Vaperzan's church.
Oh, yeah, they're crazy.
The chicken. There was a chicken during one of the services. I don't even remember what happened or what.
John Jr. always, and Todd has kept it going, his youth conferences every year, they give away some kind of animal. He's given away a donkey. They've given away an iguana. They give away all kinds of stuff. So every year, sometime during the summer, I'll get a text with a picture of something in Todd's backyard. Well, so what I'm doing this year, here's a goat or whatever it is. It's great. I love it.
Finding your people was hard.
Very difficult.
And I think that's been the hardest part about leaving the IFB is finding that group of people that you feel camaraderie with again. Sure. You know, it's like if you slip up and say the wrong thing, then oh my goodness, we're not going to associate with you anymore.
Right. And I think a lot of that is, I'm not trying to say like, oh, you're wrong, but I agree with you because that is something that we've become accustomed to and something that we feel like we have to constantly acclimate to. And I'm not saying like, oh, just go walk outside and find new friends. Like that's not real life, but people are, because we've been taught that we are, you know, above everyone else and we shouldn't be accepting other people. We think that's going to be mutual and other people are going to not. No, man. Like I've had so many, not so many, cause I do have a small circle, but like, and it's because I literally don't go outside. I stay inside all the time. My work, I don't have to commute. So what I found even before I was left, when I was kind of on the outskirts and doing, you know, trying to try what we would call ecumenical churches or like more new age type churches when I was in that kind of place, but I was still very like IFB as far as like my standards, dress, music, everything. Well, not music, but dress for sure. And, you know, drinking and all that stuff. Like I didn't have anything to do with it. I still found lots of people that were more than happy to be my friend, but because I wasn't going to smoke or drink with them, that was definitely an eye-opener for me, that they weren't like, oh, you won't smoke or drink. I'm like, no, like I don't have a problem with you doing it, which was a lie. I did have a problem with it, but on the surface they didn't know that. And so I would tell them like, no, I don't. So we would be friends and we would be fine. But I think we come from that. I like what you're saying. Like, how are you going to find new friends? You just left all your friends. Number one, you just left them all or most of them. And you're also used to this really screwed up dynamic of who's going to tattle on me for me being open and honest about my actual feelings. And you have, it's a rightful fear because it's happened to you. It's happened to other people that you know. People have gotten in trouble. People have lost jobs. People have lost positions in the church. People have been kicked out of college. All the bad things that can happen to you have happened to people because of that. And it's a very, very real fear. So I like that you're speaking to it, and I think that it's important for people to know, like, not, oh, everything's going to be hunky-dory. It's just fine. You're going to make tons of friends, but it's not as bad as you were taught. I can promise you. And I'm not saying necessarily to you. I think you already know this, but to everyone, like, it's not as bad as you thought it was going to be. I'm not saying it's a cakewalk.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lot more accepting people once you open up and you're not like, right? You're not like, oh, I can't go here. I can't do that. And that's not to say like, throw your morals to the wind. Like, oh, you want to do a drive-by? Yeah, let's go. That's a great idea. No, I'm not saying let's not get crazy. But like when you're not constantly having to judge other people for things that are sinful, but in reality are just lifestyle choices. No, man, like you're going to find so many people that want your friendship. If you're really an empathetic, friendly person, there's a ton of people who want to be your friends.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's so true. I mean, the nicest people that I've ever found are not in church. They don't go to the IFB.
Ding, 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 ding.
You know, but that's the crazy thing, like the mental battle that goes on, you know, even something as small as touching someone.
Oh yeah.
Like I was taught,
I still have trouble with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll even now catch myself, giving change to a clerk, and it's a man, and I'm like dropping the money from afar because I can't touch them,
Yeah, no,
and that's so foreign to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Where, that's no problem. Let me shake your hand. Let me,
Right.
put my hand around your
hug. Yeah, no big deal.
That is normal, especially down here in the South. Like,
oh, right.
yeah.
That was a big thing for me. Anytime Capacey would come around, and I'm not saying anything good or bad about him, but he was a big hugger. And when he would be at pastor school, and I'm not saying, I mean, maybe people should keep an eye on him. I don't know. But everyone, he would, I don't remember what year it was or when it was, but he was at pastor school being recognized, and a bunch of his staff was on the platform, and he's hugging all these ladies, and I'm like, this guy, what's going on? I remember that vividly. I was like, this guy has a problem.
Man, no.
Little did I know Jack Scott was the problem.
Yeah, really.
But the touching. Sorry, go ahead.
We ostracized Capacey because he's totally changed too. We found a church that kind of is more towards what we believe and feel like we're in at this journey at this point in our life. And he was at that church for.
Oh, that's cool.
And so that was cool, but totally different than when he was at college.
Right. Yeah.
That was weird too because he was trying to get people to come to his college, and having him at pastor school was odd.
Yeah, it's very it's very weird. Yeah. I agree 100%. And when you're brought up, don't ever lay a finger on that person until you're married. That breeds all kinds of problems.
And with our line of work, with you and your podcast, and I'm sure you're getting messages lots of times from, I was messaging you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, with my business too as well, I've got men that I'm conversing with, and that kind of mentality of, separation and entirely makes for that kind of connection awkward. And it really takes
still deal with that.
Yeah, it takes so much to overcome that. So it's we're in a work in progress.
Yeah, and to anyone that's listening still, I don't know how long this is recording for or how long it's been going, but to anyone that's still listening, we're not saying this to say, oh, be discouraged because life is terrible afterwards. No, it's great. It's opening you up to freedom and you're much happier, but that doesn't mean that the work suddenly stops. It's just different kind of work. At least now it's work towards your happiness instead of work towards the happiness of the pastor whose downline you're in the IFB. It's not that anymore. It's just your happiness. That's all it is. Or your family's happiness, however you want to phrase it. Well, I don't want to end too soon, and I don't want to cut you off from anything you have to say. But what did I tell you? I told you that some of the best podcasts are the longest ones, and I didn't say this one was going to be super long, but it's been pretty long because we've been on
about 4 hours.
Maybe about 4 hours, that we've been doing. So that's good. That's great. I love it. I can't wait to post it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not stoked on editing it, but I can't wait to post it.
I don't envy your part of the job.
It might be a couple years, might be 2023, but we'll get it posted. But yeah, I don't want to. I would like to not necessarily close, but see if you have anything that you'd like to add, any other subjects you want to broach, of course, or anything you'd like to add, as kind of a way of telling people your message or anything you want to say.
I would just like to give people hope that are, still stuck in it. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to stop being the follow person and seek out answers for yourself. And, that was my ticket out, was just, hey, this isn't right. And I'm not going to just follow along and continually do what everybody else is doing. I want to know for myself. And, that was when my eyes were opened. And I feel like if people were to actually do that, they would see it for what it really truly is. So, if you're stuck in there, ask questions.
Yeah. I like that. I like that because this is a subject that comes up often on the podcast, and that is, and now I can't think of what it's called, critical thinking. That's really what that comes back to. And we weren't taught specifically hey, don't be a critical thinker, or critical thinking is bad. We weren't taught those words, but that's exactly what we were taught in theory.
Absolutely.
We were taught that you don't ask questions. I remember as a child being told, you know, even though all we had for internet was basically those AOL discs, I remember being taught, don't look up Hyles-Anderson, First Baptist, or Jack Hyles on the internet. Well, the Combs thing was on then. Joe and his wife. Yeah, well, we did. It was on the computer in the middle of the house. And there was nothing I was going to get on there anyways. There's no way. That thing was dial-up, slow as could be.
Yeah.
I can get all kinds of stuff now. So, but yeah, you're taught to not question your authority. You're taught to not question the principles. You're taught, sure, you're taught, what is it? I feel like it's in Thessalonians, like, you know, question these things to see if they are so, stuff like that. Like, yeah, your preacher will say that, but in the IFB, for the most part, he doesn't mean it.
No.
Because if you really start asking him the hard questions about these standards, whether it comes to music or movies or dress, and I'll be honest, like I'm saying, it's not all IFB pastors. As an IFB pastor, he calls himself IFB. He's not. He's a good friend, and he's not that far from me here in Southern California. And, you know, as far as like these crazy standards, he doesn't abide by them. You know, his wife wears what his wife wants to wear, and you know, when he gets up on Sunday and talks, like, I don't feel like I'm beaten down. You know, I've gone to his church a couple times, so I'm just trying to say, like, I'm not saying it's every single IFB church everywhere, but for the most part, you know, if you're feeling the oppression or you're feeling that you can't question things, then you are in that type of occultish atmosphere. And I love that you're saying that, like, ask the questions. It's okay. And it's crazy for you to feel like you have to say it's okay to ask questions. That's a basic human instinct. We should all know that. And I'm not trying to be unkind to anyone who's like, oh, I don't think I can ask questions. Like, I'm not saying, oh, okay, dummy, you should know. No, you don't know. You've grown up with it, or you were indoctrinated into it. You've been brainwashed. They hate that word. They hate the word movement.
Yeah.
They hate the word brainwashed. They hate that. I don't know if you saw that video.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought maybe you had. Yeah, because there's a similar circle there with the Indiana, Michigan crowd. So they hate those. They hate those statements, but it's what defines humanity. It's what moves us forward. It's what makes us better people, is asking the questions, even when the answers really aren't fun to hear. Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap it up with that now that we're 4.5 hours in. I had a great time. I'm not trying to say that disparagingly. So let me just set the stage for you guys real quick. I am right now, Chloe is not here with me. I am by myself. I have the day off of work. All day I can do this. So I've got all kinds of time. She's got kids. She's got homework for them. She's got a husband. She's got all kinds of stuff to do. And she said, you know what? No, I'm going to take the time and do this podcast. So thank you so much for taking the time.
It's been an honor to be on. And like I said before, you know, your work that you do here, the podcast, it really did help me. So please don't ever stop. It does get into the ears of people that are trying to leave. So yeah. Awesome.
That's why we do it. There's a few reasons, but that's the big one. So I'm so stoked to hear that. That means the world to me. Thank you so much, Shellie. And anyone that, again, that's still watching, we're grateful that you took the time. We just had this is just a fun conversation for us. We talked about college. We talked about all kinds of stuff, tour. People probably are tired of hearing me talk about tour, but I don't care. And I have a lot of fun talking about it. So anyways, Shellie, thank you so much for coming on Not Your Mother's Podcast. And thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Not Your Mother's Podcast.
Bye.